Welcome to episode number 99 of the Let's Discuss Gaming podcast. I am your host, Triple J. Joining me is my co-host, Dr. Games 101.
Hey y'all, happy Pride Month. Just joking.
Yes, Pride, because you decided to screw something else that most people choose not to screw.
Yeah, I had to do it. I had to. That's for the sake of Microsoft, They do it every year, so.
Yes, if Microsoft jumped off a bridge, would you follow them?
I mean, when they Major Nelson, because he did look the club after 20 years, so why not?
Okay, for those of us who are still sane and don't care about pandering, that obviously doesn't count Dr. Games 101. We're here to do what we do every 2 weeks, and that's talk about the latest news in gaming over the last 2 weeks. So, you ready to start with the first article?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Okay. And I'd like to apologize for Dr. Games 101 feeling like he had to pander to a very small percentage of the population.
That's okay, just for the moment.
Anyway, first story up. Call of Duty Black Ops 6 teasers have arrived. A website called The Truth Lies is now available, but what does it all mean? This was before Call of Duty Black Ops 6 was officially announced. What appears to be the first teaser for the next Call of Duty game has arrived. Charlie Intel discovered a website for The Truth Lies that appears to point to the rumored Black Ops 6. Since then, Activision has debuted numerous other marketing campaigns for the next Call of Duty. A video on the website shows people climbing Mount Rushmore to drape bandanas over the presidents that say "The Truth Lies." A fourth bandana has what appears to be the Black Ops logo that was seen previously in Microsoft's announcement for a mystery event in June. The Black Ops series is known for its many mysteries and for digging into conspiracy theories, so the messaging is certainly on brand for the franchise. If this is indeed a Black Ops 6 teaser, Activision is known for its elaborate and multi-stage announcements for new Call of Duty games, and this appears to be the first step in the announcement process for this year's Call of Duty game. Okay, so skipping the tweets. Black Ops 6, or whatever this game is likely to release in October, according to reports, it will launch on Game Pass, according to the Wall Street Journal. And that was also confirmed since this article came out. A blurry image of what could be the cover art for Black Ops 6 has arrived as well by way of reliable determined Bibliobeacon. This person intentionally blurred the image as not planning to release a non-blurry version. The story for Black Ops 6 is rumored to take place at least in part during the Gulf War. Call of Duty games are known to be globe-trotting affairs that travel throughout numerous locations and time periods, so if the Gulf War is part of the game's story, it could just be one element of it. Rumors have suggested the new game has been in the works for a long time and will be the first game in franchise history to have been developed over a 4-year period. This lies in stark contrast to 2023 Call of Duty's Modern Warfare 3, which was reportedly made in just 18 months. If this year's game is indeed a Black Ops title, and it is, it will be the 6th entry in the series since it debuted in 2010. The Black Ops franchise within Call of Duty has become one of the most popular of all and lucrative too. Dave Anthony, the director of the first 2 Black Ops games, recently discussed how he made incredible amounts of money during his career. In terms of returning characters, it's rumored that Adler is coming back, but that's all we know so far. The Black Ops series is known for featuring real-life people like Ronald Reagan in Black Ops Cold War, and Robert McNamara in Black Ops 1, so it wouldn't be surprising to see real-life military and political leaders from the Gulf War era, appear in the new game. A report from Insider Gaming said Raven Software is developing the game's campaign with Treyarch, the creator of the Black Ops series, handling multiplayer and zombies. Activision is known to recruit teams from across its entire network of Call of Duty studios to contribute to each year's new release in some fashion, and that formula is expected to continue this year. For more, check out GameSpot's rundown of everything we know about the next Call of Duty, as well. Also, it will join Call of Duty Warzone, Call of Duty Warzone Mobile, and Call of Duty mobile on the market at the same time. So let's look at some comments. Let's see. Upvoted. So best comments. Hard Wedson goes, nice microtransaction store for $70, bro. Mr. Bojangles 25 goes, Call of Duty jumped the shark a long time ago, in my opinion. This weird marketing shtick and gimmick and whatever is just more of that nonsense. Series has no soul left, just addicts that keep pulling the lever on the slot machine. And Ty Will 44 goes, I legit forgot Black Ops 5 came out. I thought the last one, which I didn't play, was 4. Okay. I gotta be honest. The last one I thought that came out was like 2. When I saw Black Ops 6, I'm like, wait a minute, what happened to 3, 4, and 5? What do you think? Since I know you played Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2, the reboot in 2022, I think it was.
Yep, and also 2019 and Black Ops 1, 2, not 3, not 4, but definitely Black Ops Cold War as well. Yeah.
So Black Ops Cold War was Black Ops 5, just not numbered.
Pretty much, yeah.
Okay. So, are you happy with Call of Duty Black Ops 6 taking place in the Gulf War? I do remember us bringing that up as a possibility of something they hadn't done yet.
Yeah, it's like the end of the Cold War. Russia collapses as a USSR. Bill Clinton and H.W. Bush, take over shit. With the United States with the United States government, obviously. It's a time of of great peace overall from the Cold War, but then we still got the wars going on, the Kosovo and the Yugoslavia war and stuff like that back prior to that. It was a lot of stuff going on in the '90s, and just the fact that Russia faltered doesn't mean that we didn't see no war. So.
Yeah. Okay. So, are you excited for Call of Duty Black Ops 6?
Yeah. Why not? I mean, I was kind of pissed off with the Black Ops Cold War because, I said back 3-4 years ago, I was kind of upset about it because how is it that I was told, well, we were told, if you remember correctly, James Triple J, that it's the communists taking over the America, and Mr. Gorbachev tear down this wall, and then Gorbachev or Nikita Khrushchev actually saying that, oh, we will bury you, America, and stuff like that. Those statements back like 75 years ago, 60 years ago at least. It's coming back to come back to straight in our face in a sense back then with Black Ops Cold War, in my opinion. But with Black Ops 6, it's like, okay, it's a softened blow to be slapped in the face, because obviously what we were taught back in the 90s, was not really the whole story with the warfare and all, the history of warfare. So it's it's something that it'll be interesting how we're gonna try to focus as well as to reflect what transpired back in the 90s when we were kids. So.
Yeah, I just gotta say, like I said, I felt like I did beat the first Call of Duty Black Ops actually here soon after I moved to Georgia. I played the whole campaign in one night.
Nice.
So, and then I played a little bit of Zombies afterwards. I did play a little bit of 2, not much, but like I said, I didn't even know there were more Black Ops games after that.
Mm-hmm.
So, Call of Duty Black Ops 6, I really didn't care about the Modern Warfare reboots. I thought that was probably jumping the shark, to be honest. Especially with not being allowed to do the no Russian mission in Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2. It's like, just play the original. And then, so, I mean, while it sounds nice, while they still got content to pull from, it's like just, here we go again. It's going to be the same thing, just different window dressing, different time period. So yeah, I'm not terribly excited for it. It's just like, oh, right in clockwork,
Yeah, another one comes to play Black Ops again. It's good to keep continuing the Black Ops games. I'm very surprised after the last 12, 14 years almost, 15 almost, and let's see what happens this year. See what how good of a game it is. I'm probably going to be focused more on the microtransactions, the skins, and all for these whales slash youngling games like they call them because they're going to eat up those microtransactions. So and they're probably going to use some sort of like hack device to be doing headshots and trick shots and stuff like that without practicing. You know, so
Yeah, unfortunately.
because I think GameStop, GameStop stopped selling those devices where they connect to your device to hack and all. If people still find ways to, it means to still hack with their consoles and stuff like that. So
Yeah, well, that you're never gonna get rid of. I mean,
yeah, it sucks, man. Because I'm not saying I'm picture perfect or I'm like an angel when it comes to gameplay and game and all, but my skills in gaming, even though it's been like not impulsive, but it's been judgmental. I still have maintained some sort of like integrity in my gaming. Like I hate when gamers like try to certain gamers that is try to spend like $50, $100 just for a device to make sure they do these headshots no problem in the game and get avoided every time. It doesn't make any sense. So
yeah. So if you are still we're still hoping for another Black Ops game. It might have microtransactions since that seems to be since that seems to be normal for games nowadays. Unfortunately, but Black Ops 6 is coming out in October. Ready to move on?
yeah, I'm ready.
All right. Next, and we're not done talking about Black Ops 6 just yet. Black Ops 6 confirmed for day one launch on Game Pass. Won't be locked behind new tier. Like every Microsoft first party game, Black Ops 6 is coming to Game Pass at launch, and it won't be locked behind a possible new tier. So I'm going to go through the original story and then that update at the beginning. Call of Duty Black Ops 6 will launch day one on Game Pass according to a new leak. The Game Pass app is reportedly sending out push notifications to some users to alert them that Black Ops 6 is coming to Game Pass on day one later this year. Reporter Tom Warren discovered that the push notification sends users to an Xbox blog post with the Play Call of Duty Black Ops 6 Day 1 Game Pass. The blog post is reportedly going up at 7 a.m. Pacific, 10 a.m. Eastern, which is the same time that the Black Ops 6 reveal trailer goes out. Black Ops 6 is in development with Treyarch and Raven Software, so we already covered that. All of Microsoft's first-party games launch in the Game Pass, but many were wondering if this would also be true for Call of Duty titles now that Microsoft owns the series. From the looks of it, that will be the case, though it remains to be seen if the reported Game Pass price hike is coming. Keep checking back with GameSpot, so now I'm going to go back to that update. Microsoft has now confirmed that Call of Duty Black Ops 6 is launching as a day one new release on Game Pass. More details about the game will be announced on June 9th during the Xbox Game Showcase. A spokesperson for Microsoft and Eurogamer said that Black Ops 6 will be available at launch for Xbox and PC on Xbox Game Pass Ultimate, PC Game Pass, and Xbox Game Pass for console members. Many were wondering if Microsoft might raise the price of Game Pass prior to Black Ops 6 launch or introduce a new higher priced Game Pass tier for Black Ops 6. This statement seems to confirm Black Ops 6 won't be locked behind a higher priced Game Pass tier, but it's possible Game Pass prices could go up, as has been reported. Now we'll get into comments about this. Since there's only 3, I'll just read them all. Nintendians goes, that's nice as long as the Microsoft Store on Windows 10 and 11 and not only on the Battle.net launcher. Iron Horse 89 goes, good luck getting to play any sort of MP on launch day as the servers will likely be completely overloaded more than ever. And Sassy Malone says in response to that, nah, it will be fine. This isn't Mid Divers 2. Only crap Sony games have server issues. So, what do you... I have a different feeling about this being launched on Game Pass. But do you want to go first, or do you want me to go first?
I'll go first, since you know some more about this better.
Okay. My issue is what the fuck are they doing? Um, Black Ops. If any game on Game Pass is gonna cannibalize sales for that game, Call of Duty is one of the very few guaranteed games to sell, and now you're putting it on Game Pass for anyone. And I don't care. I don't care if they're going to raise the price of the subscription. Good for them. That's not going to replace the money that you lose if you put this on available through Game Pass at launch. I mean, if you want to put the older Call of Duties on there, fine. That would be understandable. I thought they would at least give this game a chance to sell before putting it on Game Pass for everyone to get. But it seems like I guess Microsoft is allergic to money now. Well, I mean, it's kind of like, especially with the game studios that they shut down and everything. It's like, why would you not let Call of Duty make as much money as it possibly could by letting it launch and then putting it on Game Pass at a later date? Do you feel the same way, or do you think I'm wrong with that?
I mean, you have the right to your opinion, Triple J, and this. I mean, all these games for the last several months, if not a couple of years now, go on day one in the Game Pass with Redfall, Starfield, perhaps even now we got the Call of Duty games being owned by Microsoft with Activision Blizzard, and it's a good thing at first for those who cannot afford that $70 game at first. They probably like the gamers or the new gamers or even the casual gamers, but like, when we spent $17 for 1 month, let's see how the Call of Duty Black Ops 6 is like. And if I like the game, I'll buy it to own it. And then if I like it even more, I might just upgrade it to the deluxe edition, etc., Ultimate Edition. And after a while, it's kind of like, it's whatever. I mean, it's like, it doesn't affect my wallet per se, because I'm not a big Call of Duty fan, I will admit that, but I do play Call of Duty games whenever I can on my free time, other than Apex Legends, as you can tell for how many years now. So it's it's a good big relief to play other games after Apex, like that Call of Duty, and other independently owned games like that of Mirror, what's called Mirror's Memoir? Mirror's Edge as well, yeah, that too. Played that the other week or two, but yeah, Black Ops 6, it's not like, it's like every time become more expensive. So Microsoft's like model on the Game Pass is kind of like a poor man's guide to, like, try out things before buying the full price on type of moment. But unlike the other games for the past, when you buy them physically and get a sale from each game guaranteed for $70, you know that you make some profits off it. But with the Game Pass, in the long run, it's not going to work well, because everyone finally played Black Ops 6 to how much, and they probably get tired of playing the level ups and stuff like that. Some other gamers, that is, and then probably keep the core audience still playing Game Pass. And that's about it. And we want to make sales in the long run, but you can't. So it's iffy, in my opinion. So
yeah, I mean, that's I'm trying to think more on the business side of things, which is why my opinion might be different than normal. Because when I had Game Pass, yeah, I played Life is Strange: True Colors all the way through. I heard the DLC was terrible and not even working from some people, so I didn't buy the DLC. I just played the base game. But maybe I would have bought the game if I had the money at the time, if it wasn't on Game Pass. I didn't even really know about it until I saw it on there. But then, so it's kind of like, but then again, I forget how long Life is Strange: True Colors was out before I played it on Game Pass. So it's, it's like, I've enjoyed it too when I was subscribed to Game Pass. I haven't been subscribed to Game Pass for a full year at this point. But it's just kind of like Call of Duty, the one big game that you haven't ruined yet, you're going to put it on Game Pass day one.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, just from a business standpoint, I don't understand it. Yeah, it's going to be great for consumers, but this Game Pass thing is not. I mean, what about the people that are going to just use 1 month free trials to try out Call of Duty for a couple weeks and then leave it. So it's kind of like while it's good for consumers, I'm just wondering what business sense this makes.
Yeah. Because after a while, I'll keep playing the game for on hours, months, whatever the case may be for each game or average games at best. It does create this mundane type of consumer base. It's not excited to buy that product right away because you're playing it through rental means. So of course, yeah, we had Blockbuster back in the day where you go to the Blockbuster and you rent a game for about a week, depends on how much you want to spend, and bring it back to whatever the time is for that matter, and that's it. Finished for the moment. Especially if it's a fixed game like Grand Theft Auto 3, for example. You play through the story mode and that's about it. You just give it back to Blockbuster. But with Game Pass, now it's like, the quality is not there as it used to be. So it's kind of like, you're not really... You get your money's worth, yes, for the consumer, the gamer, yes, but not the business model itself. So, yeah, you're right.
And also, talking about Blockbuster, keep in mind when my Blockbuster, at least, they had this 3-month program where you could rent out games, one game at a time, and you could keep it as long as you wanted. And like the way the store clerk sold me on the membership, I forget how much it cost, but it was a 3-month membership. He's like, you can keep the game for a month. You can play the game one day, find out you hate it, and bring it back the very next day and try out something else. And
yeah, those were deals back then, I hear.
Yeah, that was I had that 3-month membership from December of 2010 to I think February or the very beginning of March 2011, and then I joined GameFly. It was March, and then the very next day, after my Blockbuster membership ended, instead of renewing it because I didn't see many new games coming out that I wanted to try, I joined GameFly. And from what I heard, at least GameFly is still around.
Surprisingly.
Well, they actually are pretty good. I mean, back in 2011, I mean, you could still rent out PS2 games. So, Xbox and GameCube, not so much, but they did have Xbox 360 and Wii U, and they also had DS and PSP games. Since I just have an Xbox One, it really wouldn't make sense. Well, 2 reasons I don't have GameFly anymore. One, the mail situation, it could take like a week for a game to show up. When I lived in New York, it could take like 3 or 4 days. So like it's kind of like you were paying so much money, but you were waiting more than you were actually playing games.
That's the downside to GameFly.
Yeah, and the second is also, I bet like PS3 games or something is probably very scarce. They're probably good for someone who maybe have PS4, Xbox One Series, and Switch. But like if you just have like one of those systems, you're gonna be limited on what you can try out.
Yeah.
So that's but like I said, I just don't understand why. I just don't think I just think they're looking at the short-term benefit and not the long-term drawbacks of putting this game on Game Pass on day one.
Oh yeah.
Anything else to add, or ready to move on?
We can move on.
Okay. Next. GTA 5 and more leaving PlayStation Plus games catalog in June. Get them while you can. Grand Theft Auto 5 and several other titles are leaving the PlayStation Plus games catalog available to extra tier members in June of 2024. As reported by Push Square, the PlayStation Store's Last Chance to Play page has been updated to include a dozen titles headlined by the beloved GTA 5, but also including Brothers, A Tale of Two Sons, and Indivisible. Players can no longer access these as of June 18th. Also being removed is DC League of Super Pets, The Adventures of Crypto and Ace, Dodgeball Academia, Monster Jam, Steel Titans, MotoGP 23, SpongeBob SquarePants Battle for Bikini Bottom Rehydrated, The Talos Principle Deluxe Edition, The Wild at Heart, and Unturned. PlayStation Plus Premium subscribers will also lose access to Baja Edge of Control HD on the Classic Games catalog. Grand Theft Auto V's removal will just be 1 month after developer Rockstar Games' latest Red Dead Redemption 2 was added to the service. This was a launch title of the PlayStation Plus Games catalog, but removed in September of 2022 before finally being added back in May of 2024. The decade-old GTA 5 has been available on the service since December 2023. May 2024's additions otherwise include Cat Quest, Watch Dogs, and G-Police, in what was perhaps a thinner lineup than usual, though Red Dead Redemption 2 will carry it a long way. So, comments. Metal Gear Sony goes, this article would have been 1,000 times easier to read if you just listed the games in bullet point. Gamer Farewell goes, bah. SpongeBob and Monster Trucks are two I may show to my toddler. Who doesn't own GTA 5 by now? Ha. And Blanco Abaye goes, SpongeBob Battle for Bikini Bottom is a really good time, especially if you're a fan. I think I played a SpongeBob game because I had access to it, and I was just like, what the fuck am I looking at?
It's all pretty colors and playing.
No, it was something like you were like in a mouth of something or something, and it's just like, this is in a kid's game? Baby Boo One goes, I own GTA 5 and I've never even played it. LOL. So, what do you think of GTA 5 leaving PlayStation Plus? It's weird because it just came back like 6 months ago.
Yeah, they're trying to make sure people buy the actual copy of GTA 5 so that we get more sales in prior to GTA 6 release. Because in my opinion, and not just like, oh, this opinion is going to turn into an actual historic moment. It's been mentioned by all over the gaming community by now, I bet, that GTA 6 is going to be the biggest launch, the most anticipated game of all time, as well as the biggest launch in gaming history, if ever. Because there'll be so many people going for that game, whether it's online, digital, whatever, physical copies, you name it. Like it's it's still make money with GTA 5 even after GTA 6 comes out, because there'll be new GTA gamers that of whoever, someone by who never played GTA games before with the Vice City and San Andreas and all. They probably get the definitive edition. It was kind of weird on their part, but that's only so far we can get in recent time. If not, I think you just get the triple pack on somewhere on the internet, of the original triple pack for the PS2 systems, which if they have a PS2 system, which is why the definitive edition will be the cake seller, you want to call it. It's going to take the cake, and it now sells too when GTA 6 comes around. So that's how I look at it.
I just look at it like, first I want to go back to every Grand Theft Auto game. I remember when Grand Theft Auto San Andreas was coming out, it was like, this is the largest Grand Theft Auto game ever.
Yeah.
And then Grand Theft Auto 4, if I remember correctly, blew San Andreas out of the water. Then 5 blew 4 out of the water in terms of their in terms of how big the game was, in terms of how big the map was. So I mean, yeah, I expect GTA 6 to follow along at least. Yeah, like I said, it's I don't know about anticipation wise. I don't know if it's being that big. People were starting to hate it right away just when rumors came out about it. But yeah, like I said, GTA 5 has been out since 2013. So if you didn't have it, you either played it and you got rid of it, or you still have it. And if you don't have it by now, you probably had no interest in playing it at all by now. So, and like I said, they got Red Dead Redemption 2 now. They got Watch Dogs. I mean, older games, but they're still great games if you never played them. I definitely recommend you play Watch Dogs if you haven't. Red Dead Redemption 2 as well.
Yeah, I definitely want to get my hands on that game too one day. hopefully it'll be on sale for about like 15, $20, with no problem for a few weeks,
Yeah, you just gotta keep your eyes open for a sale.
Yeah.
I got it. I got it on launch day, like the day after launch day.
Okay,
Um, but I paid the full 60 for it. So,
I see.
but
Because
I do have Red Dead Redemption 2 digitally. So but I played through the entire campaign. So I can always start it up again if I want to go through the campaign again. Because like I said, the online it was like there's nothing here. Um,
what Rockstar as well as PlayStation should do, they work with Microsoft as well. I don't know how well they connect with each other, but when it comes out to this big launch of GTA 6 and all, what they should do around the time of it, like Black Friday sales, whatever, to be like make it not dirt cheap for these games, Red Dead Redemption, Definitive Edition on GTA and all. I mean, like they should have a good sale to make sure to have like a package set where it's like buy 2 games get 1 free, or buy these 2 GTA games get 2 free, or something like that. Something of that sort. You know what I'm saying? Like make sure people will buy it, Max Payne and all. It'd be nice to see something like that happening to bring new gamers into the fray of Rockstar's games.
Basically, you're talking about a Rockstar deal, like buy 2 Rockstar games, get 1 free.
Or buy GTA 6, the launch game, and get like 10% off for like Red Dead Redemption 2 or something like that.
Right. Yeah, they should try that. Or buy GTA 6 and it comes with like 10% off for a digital copy of any Rockstar game, any other Rockstar game.
Yeah, with included the sales price of that original sale. I mean that.
Yeah.
The sale of like say 25% off plus another 10% off.
Yeah. I mean that would be up to the store though. I mean, but if store wide, like I'm saying, even if they did buy GTA 6, you get $10 off a Rockstar game as long as even if it's just digital.
Yeah.
But include the older games so people can spend it on Max Payne or Max Payne 2 if they hadn't played that yet, or Bully. Include the other games like Bully, Max Payne 1 and 2. Rockstar's older titles with that. So yeah, that's all I really got to say. Anything else to say, or are we ready to move on?
We can move on.
Okay. Next. We're going to have fun. Oh, hello, old friend. The Sims 4 promises more bug fixes, performance improvements in response to community frustration. They've assembled a team to invest in the core game experience. Over the past decade, The Sims 4 has certainly struggled under the technical weight of years of updates and DLC releases, much to the annoyance of fans. But today, the team's pledged to put more resources into the core game experience. The Sims released a statement on the matter earlier today, in which the team acknowledged that technical issues with The Sims 4 have interrupted your gameplay over time, and we recognize that this has caused you much frustration. Today, the statement continued, we can share that we have assembled a team to invest in the core game experience, including tackling your reported concerns. This newly formed and focused team means we'll be able to increase both the number of fixes and the frequency with which we ship these batched updates. The plan moving forward, according to the statement, is to release a patch roughly every 2 months, with the first coming after this month. EA published the details of this first patch in a laundry list on its website, and true to the laundry list title, it mostly is a litany of fixes for small, albeit frustrating bugs, ranging in everything from a trash can is required message appearing on lots that already have one to traversal issues with puppies and kitties. But behind the bug fixes, the team promises to continue making core improvements to the performance of The Sims 4. To that end, the statement says the next patch will include some optimizations across platforms so The Sims 4 uses less memory. As a result, you may experience fewer crashes, a better frame rate, and/or a more responsive simulation, it adds. You might experience that. As the devs acknowledge, bugs and performance have long been points of consternation among fans, so the community's reaction in today's news was largely positive on the game's subreddit, if a little cautious in their optimism. They did an in-game survey about DLC for Rent that seemed to ask a lot about how unplayable it was. I wonder if that had anything to do with this, wrote one user. Glad EA is letting them have more people. Hopefully they're able to actually start fixing stuff. But probably not. LOL. Others were a little surprised about the seeing reinvestment into the decade-old title, especially as EA gears up for its next Sims game, codenamed Project Renee. It's been months, however, since we got any updates on that. And EA said last September that it was still in the early stages of development. In the meantime, the team has vowed to continue supporting The Sims 4 both in today's statement and in prior ones. Our team is more dedicated than ever to developing great The Sims 4 gameplay experiences into the foreseeable future, the statement concludes, and we appreciate your support as these critical improvements roll out. So let's go to comments. Nick Grack goes, love the early ones, but then when I grew up and had to take care of my own home, The Sims felt like an odd way to escape. House building was fun time waster for a bit longer, though Sims 4 feels much older than just 10 years. Gaming Devil 800 goes, where the hell is Sims 5? I miss the old Maxis that actually got creative with the IP, like Castaway and Medieval. And Killer Rogue goes, here's a better idea. The Sims 5. The game is 10 years old. While it's cool that they're going back and fixing things, ultimately they'll need to release an updated title instead of milking DLC for another 10 years. My point is, remember when they were fixing stuff before? Which one should we cover first? The horses looking demonic when in that horse update, or Sims doing incestuous things with family members and aging rapidly? I mean, and now we're gonna get more updates. One update every 2 months, so it seems like we're gonna have a lot more material to make fun of, which I missed. I miss making fun of the Sims, taking shots at them.
Oh yeah.
What do you think of this news? They finally assembled a team.
Hello.
Well, that's step one.
Hello, darkness, my old friend. Come back. Sims 4. We're back at it again with Sims 4. Yep. Yeah, it's okay. I mean, more power to them to fix the matter after all these years. Sims 4 has been making how much money for the last several years now with this $1,000 plus content. You know, it's I'm sure there's some whale out there or two that bought up all those DLCs by now. So
yeah. So I mean, well, I'd love to. If someone did buy every single DLC, I would love to meet that person because that person's got money to spend.
Yeah.
You know, and then they probably got nothing else going on in their life. Because I mean, how I've lost count how many DLCs that has come out for The Sims 4. So, you know, but again, you know, it's like I said, it's just this is kind of why we make so much fun of The Sims 4. They just now, after 10 years, assembled a team that's going to proactively go after bugs in the game. It took you 10 years to assemble a team? What happened to the people who developed the game originally and developed the DLC packs? Are they no longer there?
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it's kind of like a zombie apocalypse in Resident Evil, and right before they like destroy the city, or like 2 hours before they bomb Raccoon City, someone goes, "Okay, we're gonna find out what happened to what caused this zombie outbreak."
You already sanitized it. Don't have to clean it again.
Yeah. So it's I mean, it's just kind of funny, you know. I mean, like I said, I thought they were actually I actually thought, since no more stories had come out, that they had given up on The Sims 4. You know, just what it is going to be what it is. But it looks like maybe we'll have more stories to laugh at. Because I mean, what was your favorite mess up of The Sims 4, that you remember from our podcast? Because
Um,
we covered a couple different ones.
I think it's the LGBT theme for the Dead by Daylight version of The Sims. I think it was. If I recall correctly.
Well, I don't remember the Dead by Daylight one, but I do remember the when they pandered to LGBTQ. Yeah, you could make your sim somewhere on that spectrum.
Okay.
But yeah, I remember that, and like I said, I think that was where the incestuous relationships and the rapid aging um, caused the rapid aging bug as well. It's like, was pandering really worth it this time? And then you had demonic horses with the horse update. It's all a lot of fun in my opinion.
Hmm.
To poke to, or a lot of fun to poke fun at.
Yeah, even if it's a dead horse, you beat the crap out of still.
Yeah, you still get some enjoyment out of it.
Why won't you die, you dead horse? You French whore! What's wrong with you, dead horse? French whore.
Well, it died. It just reanimated, came back to life. So yeah, we're probably gonna have more fun to make fun of, more things to make fun about The Sims as these updates roll out. Because, like I said, I think it was a horse update. I said this is gonna be a dumpster fire. This is gonna be a disaster. Surprise, surprise! It was. I was like, when was the last time they released anything in The Sims 4 that didn't need to be fixed after it was released?
Yeah.
So, yeah, good job, EA.
Yeah.
Ready to move on?
Yes, we can move on.
All right. Next, PlayStation Plus free games for June 2024 revealed. Drop an elbow, take on Mr. X, and do the Cosmic Shake with June's PlayStation Plus games. Sony has revealed the next batch of free games for PlayStation Plus subscribers and for anyone who likes nostalgia action pro wrestling or a sponge who lives in a pineapple under the sea. June looks like a fun month. SpongeBob SquarePants The Cosmic Shake, AEW Fight Forever, and Streets of Rage 4 will be added to the subscription service starting June 4th. For premium and extra subscribers, there's a whole of new classic and VR titles being added to the PlayStation Plus game catalog in June as well. SpongeBob SquarePants The Cosmic Shake is a pretty great game starring the lovable Fly Cook. The spiritual successor to 2003's Battle for Bikini Bottom, The Cosmic Shake is a lot of fun. And no, we're not talking about fire, uranium bombs, and no survivors. A combination of classic SpongeBob humor, rock-solid platforming, and colorful visuals makes for a charming adventure across Bikini Bottom. Next on the list is AEW Fight Forever, last year's wrestling game based on the WWE rival promotion. The first AEW channels the spirit of classic titles like WWF No Mercy and has a great roster of performers to choose from, as well as an approachable fighting system to learn. It's good and wonderfully weird stuff to check out in case you're looking for alternative to 2K's WWE series of games. Finally, Streets of Rage 4 is a brilliant throwback to yesteryear. It has the DNA of the classic Sega series, enhances it with beautiful hand-drawn visuals, and throws in new modes that will push your fighting skills to the limits. The game got even better last year thanks to a major update, as hundreds of improvements across the board polished Streets of Rage 4 into one of the best modern beat-em-ups. There's still time to grab this month's free PlayStation Plus games, as Destiny 2, Lightfall, Ghost Runner 2, Tunic will be available until June 3rd, and EA Sports FC 24 will hang around until June 17th. As part of the Days of Play celebration, Sony is also adding bonus titles to its PlayStation games catalog a few days early, and subscribers can check out several PSVR 2 and classic titles like Tomb Raider Legend and Ghostbusters Rise of the Ghost Lord in June. So let's look at the comments. So let's see. Upvotes. Chupert goes, I'm glad I canceled it. It was set to renew on the 31st this month. I'd rather pay 12 months of Game Pass on my PC instead. It's like they reached an agreement. One sucks at exclusives and the other at the subscription. Abadu Ahmed goes, bad month. And Barnoid81 goes, Streets of Rage 4 is interesting if Yuzo Koshiro worked on its soundtrack. Okay, I'm gonna have a lot to say about what I've heard about AEW Fight Forever. Unfortunately, it's not good.
I see.
But do any of these games interest you, or have you heard about any of these games?
SpongeBob Bikini Bottom or the SpongeBob game itself that I want to play myself one day, if ever, if it's on the Xbox. I know that the Bikini Bottom remake is also on the Xbox store as well. Might as well try it out one day. I used to be not a big SpongeBob follower, but when I was younger, I tried to watch as much as I can. But as I got older, but then until it's a certain point in my life where I had to stop watching constantly the SpongeBob episodes. So, I can watch it anytime on Nick at Night or even on the Pirate Bay, not Pirate Bay, the Pirates of the Seven Seas and all. But right now it's kind of like getting too old for that stuff right now. So, well, I mean, of course, yeah, why not watch SpongeBob once in a blue moon, right? But
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I never was really a fan of SpongeBob, but I mean, if it's, if it's a guilty pleasure of yours,
yeah,
what's wrong with doing it? You know?
yeah. First, like SpongeBob when I was a kid, but as I gotten older, in recent time, I like playing to the most because he's more diabolical and negative thinking about uranium bombs. It's like that's how I feel sometimes. The death, destruction, terror in the streets and all that stuff, and the end of the world. Plankton was all in one package. With his small body but big mind.
Kind of like Pinky and the Brain.
Yeah, it's time to take over the world today. At day 5,000.
Yeah. Okay. So anyway, SpongeBob SquarePants, the Cosmic Shake. Um, you know what? Yeah, I would play it. I would at least try it out, like I tried. I think Battle for Bikini Bottom. Um, that's that. And there was a third game because I want to say AEW Fight Forever. Streets of Rage 4.
Oh yeah, I heard good things about that game. That's good. Streets of Rage.
Yeah, I do have the Sega Genesis, and Doctor Games 101 might have the same thing. The Sega Genesis virtual classic that had the three Streets of Rage in a trilogy. Um,
Yep.
that's yeah. So I mean, we got that. That's still fun to play if you're just looking for a beat 'em up. Um, so yeah, if you're a big fan of the so Streets of Rage 4, I've never played it. I'd be interested in trying it. And then AEW Fight Forever. Ugh.
Mm.
Where do I begin? Um, I'm sorry, AEW Fight Forever is a failure.
It looks very like a promising game though, from all the coverage.
It did, it did, and like graphics wise, but it's just that when the game came out, there were not enough characters. There were wrestlers that were there for years, and it's like, where are they?
Hmm.
I mean, so there's that. And then they had like WWF No Mercy had more match modes than AEW Fight Forever did at launch.
Mm-hmm.
In WWF No Mercy, you had special guest referee, you had an Iron Man match, you had ladder match, and then you had the normal matches, and then you had hardcore, and you could go backstage. No Mercy, you could go backstage.
Or knockout matches too.
Or you could alter the rules and create your own matches. Pick an Iron Man match, but turn pinfalls off, countouts off, and disqualifications off. You got an ultimate submission match right there.
Mm-hmm.
They had Royal Rumble, and I think did they have Team Royal Rumble, or was that already taken out? I think.
They had regular Royal Rumble and hardcore Royal Rumble.
Okay, so they didn't have Team Royal Rumble then.
I don't think so. No, it was not that. It was not that sophisticated back then.
Well, no. I do remember. I don't think it was WrestleMania 2000. It might have been WWF. Yeah, because I never reviewed WrestleMania 2000. Like you could make like a 16-man Royal Rumble, but put 4 guys on each team, and it was basically like a stable match from WWF Attitude.
I see. Okay.
So, like I said, you could alter the rules and make up matches that weren't in the game, but they were possible because you were allowed to alter the rules, like the Ultimate Submission example.
It was that crazy of its time back then.
But the thing is, back to AEW Fight Forever, they had very few matches. It seems like they were banking everything on the exploding barbed wire death match. Um, but and then the story mode was repetitive. Just if if you went through the story mode once, which was a year in game time, you would see everything that happened during in A1 story mode. It's just the characters would be different.
Oh
But
wow.
like you, but like your first story, a partner turns on you, and then you team up with like someone, I forget who it was, but like you would team up with this guy, and like he started out as an enemy, and then you teamed up to take care of common enemies, and then you win the tag team titles. And then this guy goes, "Yeah, remember when your bags disappeared like 4 weeks ago? I was behind that." And he's like, "But I bet we've bonded enough, and we're champions now, so you'll let that go." And then you don't even get a choice; you just end up blindsiding your co-tag team champion and lose the tag team titles basically by forfeit, saying, "I'm not teaming with this guy anymore." Um, it's like, so they really didn't give you any choices. So you were going to follow the same path anyway. It's just the different wrestlers that would be involved would change up based on who you picked.
Mm.
So it's kind of like once you played it once, there was no reason to go through it again.
It was like playing
Um,
SmackDown versus Raw in 2006, but creative characters every single time, kind of most notion. You know what I'm
Kind
saying?
of, kind of, because like in SmackDown vs. Raw 2006, I do have to say at least they had at least when it went from like the Royal Rumble to WrestleMania, that's when the stories got different.
Oh yeah.
Like who ran over Teddy Long? Well, basically depended on who you picked. If you picked Rob Van Dam, uh, then I think Rob Van Dam, did he do it? Yeah, if you picked Rob Van Dam, then he did it. If you picked JBL, then Chris Jericho did it. If so it was kind of like you wanted to pick different wrestlers on the roster to see how the story would be different. Because if you pick JBL, ECW was trying to make a comeback with a little mini ECW invasion. Um, if you pick Rob Van Dam, Theodore Long said he was going to make Rob Van Dam's life a living hell on SmackDown unless he jumped to Raw. Um, but Triple H and Jericho didn't want RVD to jump to Raw, so they tried to get Vince McMahon to say RVD must have his title shot on SmackDown. And Vince McMahon goes, "Look, my hands are tied. If according to the wording of the Royal Rumble contract, if RVD wants to come and fight for Raw's world title with you two, he's got every right to." So Triple H and Jericho devise a plan where, hey, we're going to make RVD's life as easy as possible on SmackDown, so he wants to stay on SmackDown. So I mean, there was different scenarios once you got past the Royal Rumble.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so that was different, but like AEW Fight Forever, it didn't matter who you picked. You ran into basically the same situations, and then there was there's Stadium Stampede they finally released, but there's like not even enough people to get a 30-man match going, so you have to play it with bots because most people stop playing by this point.
Right.
And then the DLC. I don't know what the hell THQ and Nordic and Ukes are smoking, but wow, I've never seen DLC as expensive as they charge. They'll charge for like a season pass of theirs will be like 3 wrestlers, and maybe a few tweaks to the gameplay for like $25.
Damn.
Yeah, you can get 5 wrestlers in WWE 2K24 for $10. So it's like, why would you pay $25? And maybe you'll get like 3 wrestlers and like a new arena. And if you want to buy the wrestlers individually, that doesn't get any better. Like when they released Toni Storm, who's in AEW, she was in NXT. I don't think she ever made it. I don't think if she was on the main roster, she was there for like a cup of coffee. Then she went to AEW. If you want to buy Toni Storm like separately, like try to buy the DLC in pieces instead of for the season pass, Toni Storm could be like $12
Wow.
for one wrestler.
I would say
$12. one wrestler is more than what WWE would charge in 2K24 for like 5 wrestlers and like multiple and like maybe an extra arena or two. And then if that wasn't bad enough, every time they release like a new season pass, they release a more expensive version of the game with that season pass already included. So but yeah, AEW Fight Forever. It's not WWF No Mercy with AEW wrestlers. It's basically I mean, it looks great and everything, and I bet it plays great too, but they just released it with very few match types and a small roster. And I think like for example, I think the newest Battle Pass has Samoa Joe, Edge, and Swerve Strickland, who used to be Killshot in Lucha Underground. Swerve Strickland, but he doesn't wear a mask anymore. That's like the newest Battle Pass. That's like Samoa Joe's been there for like a couple of years already. Why is he now DLC?
Wow.
Yeah, so I mean, they released like a Battle for the Elite, which is basically 10 matches, but I don't think damage carries over, and like they did nothing with it. Like that was just in one of the season passes, and it's so like AEW Fight Forever. It's basically an insult to WWF No Mercy. It's not even better than WrestleMania 2000. I hate to say it.
Wow.
Honestly, I would pick the WWE games over AEW Fight Forever, to be honest.
Okay. Better play going back like 25 years ago for No Mercy at best,
Yeah, if you can find an affordable copy.
I got 2 copies of No Mercy, so I'm good.
Yeah, maybe you'll sell me one.
Yeah, why not? It sounds about $1 billion, right? I'm sorry, man. I'm just not $1 billion. Something like maybe $1 million, maybe 50,000, maybe 1,000.
Do you take IOUs?
Yeah, if Arnold Schwarzenegger is still in charge of California, maybe with his IOUs,
Okay. Well, anyway, yeah. So like AEW Fight Forever is just everyone was expecting it to be the next WWF No Mercy, and it's basically like the next. And basically, it's not. It doesn't even live up to WrestleMania 2000. So it's like, yeah. So basically, it's a disappointment.
Okay. Thanks for the heads up, though. Appreciate that.
Yeah, no doubt. Anything else to add, or ready to move on?
Yeah, let's move on from this disaster of a selection of games. Well, not selection of games, but just AEW by itself.
Yeah. Okay, next. Resident Evil 0 and Code Veronica are the next remakes for the franchise, report. Capcom reportedly continues to work on Resident Evil 9 as well, though it's not been officially announced. The remake train will continue for Resident Evil, with Resident Evil 0 reportedly being one of 2 remakes in development at Capcom. Alongside the prequel, a reimagining of Resident Evil Code Veronica is supposedly in the works too. According to well-known leaker Dusk Golem and corroborated by IGN, Resident Evil 0 and Code Veronica are the next remake entries for the franchise, though no order was given to their release. Resident Evil 0 originally came out on Nintendo GameCube in 2002, and then received an HD remaster in 2016. Meanwhile, Resident Evil Code Veronica released on Sega Dreamcast in 2000 before getting an HD remaster in 2011. Last year, Capcom confirmed it was remaking more Resident Evil games. So far, the studio has reimagined Resident Evil 2, 3, and 4, with the last one coming out a little over a year ago. GameSpot's Resident Evil 4 remake review even awarded the game a perfect 10 rating. One of these remakes could come out before the still unannounced Resident Evil 9. That's because Dusk Golem says internally the game has been delayed to late 2025 at the earliest, with the 2026 launch possibility as well. Dusk Golem previously reported that Resident Evil 9 could be an open world game. So let's look at the comments. And then I'll get Dr. Games 101's uh, thoughts. Uh, Lake 0121 goes good choices. Niels Doan goes wish it was five. Wednesday Adams says in response to it, I think we'll get five after the new audience is introduced to Wesker and Chris beef with each other. We need Veronica and one for that to happen. A lot of newer fans aren't playing the older titles. They're staying with the remakes and 7. So, what do you did you ever play Resident Evil 0?
I have a copy for how many months, and I never actually to play it yet on the Xbox One though. So I heard good things about the game. I watched gameplay of it online and heard that Wesker and William Birkin are part of the storyline in Resident Evil Zero. So get to understand more about their caricature and what their purpose is with Umbrella and the T virus and other projects they were doing with the owner of Umbrella and all. So it's pretty interesting, I have to say. But unfortunately, I never got to put my time and day into playing Resident Evil Zero. I did play Code Veronica and Code Veronica X. I did a recording of Code Veronica X for for as publicly on my main channel. But I'll continue doing more of gameplay of it on my gaming channel. So it's a good experience. I never really played Code Veronica X fully through for the first time. I was tired to yet, so it's more to the story as I keep playing X. I got the original for the Dreamcast for about 35, 30, maybe $25 at my local gaming store here in my neighborhood, but it got shut down for how many decades so far. It was one of the best places to find good games of its time in my neighborhood and all. But
Didn't you get the Code Veronica that was released with Games with Gold?
I'm not sure it was games with gold per se. I got it for about $3, $4. Oh, I first got it from you, the PS2 version of Code Veronica
Right.
X, and I also bought
Uh,
the Xbox One version, which is the 360 version, on the store for about
yeah.
several bucks.
Okay, I didn't have to buy it because I got it from Games with Gold. So
Okay.
back when Games with Gold gave you good games.
Yeah, I can't remember if I got games with gold or I actually paid like cheap, like $5, $10 for it. So
I think you got it through Games with Gold because that's how I got it.
okay.
Um, but yeah, so I mean, Resident Evil 0, I never had the chance to play, um, except maybe what I experienced in the Umbrella Chronicles, which wasn't much, um, because I know that had zero in it, or levels from zero in the beginning of the game.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so that Code Veronica, a great game. Never beat it, unfortunately. And then, but I'll still fire that up on my Xbox One and play that again.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, Code Veronica's great. I wonder if they're gonna remake Resident Evil 1, because if they're gonna go back to like Code Veronica and talk about Chris and Wesker's beef, you got to include 1 in there somehow.
Yeah. And Code Veronica remake. How they gonna do that with Alexia Ashford with her naked, obviously with the nudity involved with the matter? That's gonna be like in today's standards, gonna be like oh, it's sexist, it's racist, it's whatever that they gotta think of. So, that type of shit. So,
Well, hopefully people are getting sick and tired of that shit, so Capcom won't listen to them. Hopefully.
yeah, it was good artwork they did back then of Code Veronica and all with Wesker and Alexia Ashford, and then and also with the regular Ashford guy. What's his name? His first name again?
I
Um,
think Andrew.
I forgot his name though. He's an Ashford. He's the head of the Ashford family.
Yeah, he's the one who shoots at Claire when Claire first runs into him.
Yeah, and also he's a cross-dressing freak, like Claire would say.
Okay.
Yeah, I was like, what the fuck? And my first time I saw that, what the hell I'm looking at? I was like 12 or 13 years old to see that for the first time. I'm like, I don't remember seeing a man dressed up as a woman before. So it's
Okay, you must have made it further than I did.
yeah, yeah. Claire, when the I was going to self destruct, whatever, had to get those three emblems, the start up the airplane. All Steve was just so happy to handle the controls and all, and then all of a sudden after you fight the boss on the plane, in the back of the plane and all. You see Ashford turn himself on. He was like, "Whoa, you cannot escape now!" And I'm like, "Damn!" And then Claire said, "Fucking Ashford, cross-dressing freak."
Okay. So yeah, that like I said, that I've never experienced. Um, but like I said, I'd also play Resident Evil Code Veronica again almost any time.
Yeah, it's on both Code Veronica and Code Veronica XSC. So
Okay. Well, like I said, I just got the Xbox 360 version, so
yeah, that's the Code
uh,
Veronica X most likely.
anything after the Dreamcast was X. I think the PS2 version was X. I think so. I think anything after the PS2 version, like 360 version, was also X.
Right.
Yeah. So um, as remakes for these games, that sounds great. Um, what do you think about Resident Evil 9? I know we talked about it before, possibly being an open world Resident Evil.
I would have to say this though: if they're gonna do an open world of Resident Evil 9, at least include all the previous first 3 or 4 Resident Evil characters, and end this shit out of it as soon as possible after. Like this is ridiculous. It's been going for 30 years, 35 years almost, and it's like I don't mind the continuous story of like what happens with Ethan all at one point, but now it's like you gotta bring it home. You gotta finale it. You gotta sum it up. Because obviously there was so much with Resident Evil now, in my opinion, and Resident Evil has moments of its good creative story. Some of it was shitty back in the 2000 version. It was called Resident Evil Survivor. That was a little bit weird of its own self having that.
Yeah, that was awful.
Yeah, the story was all right if you want to consider it to be a story, but okay, and then also breeze right there, no problem. But then after 2000, what fucking Resident Evil 6 I was like, okay, that should be the end of it all, because you run in Jake, the son of Wesker, Chris and Leon meet for the first time ever. Ada Wong goes after Chris, or vice versa in that story. That was the first time ever happening. So that could have been like an ending right there, Resident Evil 6. It just ended it right there. But
Yeah.
it is whatever.
Honestly, I think you're a little hypocritical in this. Because
Really?
I mean, yes, because we talked about Call of Duty Black Ops 6. You can really say the same thing about Call of Duty. How long has that been around? I mean, isn't it time to wrap up Call of Duty in Resident? If you're saying let's wrap up Resident Evil.
Well, Call of Duty been on for 20 years. Resident Evil been on for almost 30.
Well, still, I mean, like Black Ops 6, it's like you're gonna want to have war soon to cover. I mean,
Yeah, that's why I have World War III very soon, right?
well, maybe, yeah.
Then they Call of Duty Black Ops, and Infinity or some shit like that.
All I gotta say is thanks those idiots who voted Biden. How many of you have remorse now?
Yeah.
But I mean, yeah, like I said, I wouldn't end the series. I like where they were going. You can make the remakes for the games. Definitely don't bring back, but I would have to disagree with you. If you're gonna make Resident Evil 9, don't bring back guys like Chris and Wesker and Ada and Jill and Claire. Although, I would like to see them. Keep them in the previous generation of Resident Evil.
Wesker's
make
already dead. Since original 5.
Okay, yeah. So but I'm saying 7, 7 and 8, continue the story of Ethan, and Mia. Resident Evil 9. I don't know if it's going to be Ethan's daughter that grew up because she was DLC in 8.
And if I recall correctly, Ethan's daughter. I hope I'm not spoiling this game in Resident Evil 8 but it's gruesome. It's the merchant of Resident Evil 8 he told Ethan, check your orb, or that special thing he's holding in his hand. It was his daughter the whole time.
Yeah.
It was fucked up, So it's kind of like, how you gonna bring that to fruition, Resident Evil 9, in that arc properly.
But also, Ethan died in Resident Evil 8. Well, I shouldn't spoil the story. but spoilers, he dies at the end of Resident Evil 8.
Oh, that sucks.
And Chris was there. What happens is Chris burst into Ethan's house and shoots Mia.
Right.
And Ethan's like, "What the hell are you doing?" When he gets to Chris, and Chris goes, "That wasn't." And he's like, "How could you shoot Mia?" And Chris goes, "I would have never shot Mia. That wasn't her. That was Lady Dimitrescu masquerading as Mia. I didn't." He's like, "I didn't know she could masquerade as a dead body, though." So basically, the real Mia was kidnapped, and Chris burst in because Lady Dimitrescu or someone from from Village was trying to get to Ethan's daughter.
Oh.
So like I thought Chris was a villain. Don't get me wrong, but like I saw the whole playthrough from a YouTuber named Sky T, SKYYTEA. She's also on Twitch. She did like the whole Resident Evil 8 game. She did the DLC, and you see Chris was actually still a good guy at the end. So, but the thing is, like Ethan's body, like he's trying to get back to the plane with Chris, with the real Mia, and the real Mia is already on the plane. Ethan's carrying his baby, his daughter, who's still alive, and but Ethan's body started turning into like fungus and like freezing off. So like he hands his baby off to Chris and tells him get her on the plane. Yeah, and Ethan dies, and then there's a DLC that takes place like 15, 16 years in the future, where Ethan's daughter is now 16, and she goes, she can possibly get rid of her powers, and she does get a chance to meet her father, who she never had the chance to meet, other than when she was a newborn. So I'm kind of wondering if Resident Evil 9 is going to continue, like with Mia in some point, or Ethan's daughter, but they have kind of already done Ethan's daughter, so it's kind of like so maybe it's going to be a new character, but I'm kind of happy that they didn't follow the same old status quo. The Resident Evil needed to change after 6, or even after 5. And I really like what they did with 7, 8, and I would love to see what they do with an open world in 9, if it is an open world game.
Well, anything?
Yeah. Anything else to add, or ready to move on?
I definitely got to play Resident Evil 8 before I play Resident Evil 9. And Resident
Evil 7. Well, if you want, Sky T, the one that I watch, she did Resident Evil 7 and 8 and DLC. So like if you don't, if you just want to watch it on YouTube, you can watch her on YouTube. She has like the whole videos like in a video series. She has like every game she played on YouTube, she has like in a video playlist, its own specific playlist. Anything else to add, or ready to move on?
Let's move on.
Okay. Next, PS2 games are coming to PS5 again, starting with Tomb Raider and Star Wars. But let's be real, the true star of the show is Sly Cooper and the Devious Raccoonus. The PlayStation Plus Classic Catalogs is an underutilized service on Sony's part, especially when it comes to PlayStation 2 games. Since the company didn't go the way of Xbox by allowing users to natively play old games on new hardware, PS4 and PS5 owners wanting to play their classic games on modern hardware have had to rely on the few digital PS2 games. Sony has rolled out to its service, so it's good news that Sony is adding a few more games on June 11th, and there are some bangers here. Tomb Raider Legend, Star Wars The Clone Wars, and Sly Cooper and the Devious Raccoonus will all be released on PlayStation 2 Classics on June 11th, and they'll also be made available to PlayStation Plus Premium subscribers. Tomb Raider Legend was a return to form for Lara Croft in 2006 after the dud that was 2003's Angel of Darkness, and I have some fondness for it even as someone who is mostly a Tomb Raider tourist. The Clone Wars is probably fine, but the real headliner is Sly Cooper and the Devious Raccoonus. I'll readily admit Sucker Punch's first Sly Cooper hasn't aged as well as its sequels, which were structured more like pseudo-open-world heist platformers compared to the original's more traditional platforming. but still a truly special game that sparked what I'd argue is one of PlayStation's most underrated series. It would be nice if this led to Sony supporting the series further with a fifth entry to resolve 2013 Sly Cooper Thieves in Time's devastating cliffhanger, but PlayStation will never give me that relief. All of these games are being added to the PS2 section of the Classics catalog as part of Sony's Days of Play sale. That event began May 29th, although the new games won't be added until a couple of weeks later. This includes sales on games, merchandise, discounted PlayStation Plus memberships, and more. To see the full breakdown of the deals, check out the PlayStation blog. That's right, Kotaku doesn't have comments. So, what do you think about these games being added to the PlayStation section?
Finally. Yeah, PS5 is all well and good to have and all, but the purpose of the PS5 was to have the backwards compatibility of game playing. And yes, it's nice to have PS5 games of its exclusivity to the console for, or at least time exclusive. At least that for the last several years we have time exclusives now for these systems, and it's perfect. Perfect timing. It would be nice though. What they should have done is that if they're going to release another PS5, a sub upgrade, or what you want to call it like that, what they should do is actually have like backwards compatible for PS1, 2, and 3, and 4 games too, which is kind of hard to do with actual hardware. But with the emulator, they can. The Xbox does it themselves. So but obviously they're not going to put that much time and effort for Sony to backtrack for that matter for the PS5. But it's nice to see that PS2 games like Tomb Raider, Star Wars, and perhaps even Banjo-Kazooie, not Banjo-Kazooie, what's it called? What's those games like? There's Tomb Raider, there's Star Wars, there's Time Crisis.
Like Uber.
I hope Time Crisis will they do a nice remaster of these games for the PS5, because those games, Time Crisis 1 through 5, they're not compatible with flat screen TVs at all. And when you try to do rail shooting with those weapons, with the gun con and all, it doesn't register properly when you shoot and on the screen. So
that's with all gun con games or light gun games on flat screens TVs. You need a CRT TV that still works if you want to play with the gun peripheral.
Which very few people have that. Like me, for example, I have a CRT TV I can still use and it's still working. That is, it's just sitting right next to me this whole time for years, collecting dust. And one day I always want to do like a rail shooting game playing of Time Crisis on my PS2 console if possible. That type of stuff. But it's a good to see that Sony's finally making some moves with their backwards compatible or past games on their current consoles and all, because it'll bring the community closer to each other from the old generations to the new generation of gamers, And Xbox is doing that too for how many years now with their consoles and stuff like that, with their games like Too Human or Prototype, or even games like what's that called, The Void or something like that. If I recall the title of that game. So no, it's called Dark Void. Yeah, that type of stuff. So because they based on our previous podcast we did earlier this year, Dark Void is going to be on the listing on the Xbox store as well. Only people who bought it or got with the games with gold can actually play it still. Last time I checked, which is being included. So
it really, I like PlayStation and Xbox doing this when they do something like this. The only problem is the only games they can release are games that were that are first party basically. Right. So you're not gonna, so like if Time Crisis is not a Sony property where it was published by Sony, good luck.
So that band like come on, Namco.
Yeah. So I mean, on one hand, I like Sony doing this and Microsoft doing this, but on the other hand, we need backwards compatibility because there's only so many games Sony and Microsoft can give us that they have the rights to.
Mm-hmm.
So it's good on one hand, but on the other hand, it's kind of like we need backwards compatibility because that's the only way we can play any game we want from the past, as long as we got a working copy.
Oh yeah, definitely.
So, but yeah, I got to give them credit at least for doing this. Hopefully this is the beginning of more things to come.
Indeed.
Ready to move on?
You think we can move on?
Okay. Next, Rainbow Six Siege's new subscription is already a mess. The controversial monthly membership comes in light of a drought of new content. Over the weekend, Ubisoft announced that its long-running success, Rainbow Six Siege, would be receiving a monthly membership subscription. Despite the dedicated community that the game has built over the past 8.5 years, the reception to the move has been anything but warm. Instead, as PC Gamer reports, the R6 membership has been getting universally dunked on since being announced at a tournament over the weekend. A video included in PC Gamer's write-up shows a crowd actually booing Ubisoft, which can be seen again from another angle here. The R6 membership, which will run players $10 a month or $80 a year, comes with many of the basic trappings of similar optional subs. Upon buying into the membership, players will be given instant access to the ongoing Seasons Battle Pass, be granted 10 level skips to get ahead of the grind, and receive a Bravo Pack, which is Siege's equivalent to loot boxes. Every month, players will also be given 10 more level skips and another Bravo Pack as on their renewal date. Finally, folks who subscribe to the sub will also get a cosmetic drop with one legendary item and whatever an epic bundle might be on the 28th of each month. There's a decent amount of stuff here for the diehard fans of Siege, and the rest of the Battle Pass rewards also give out unique weapon and operator skins, as well as in-game currency to add value. But the timing of the sub couldn't be worse. Siege is in the middle of its 9th year, which would be impressive if the current roadmap for the year hadn't already let down players with its gasping lack of new content. The roadmap for the next half year includes a lot of reworks to existing characters and systems, and while part of Siege's plans for a long while, it's not met with a wealth of new additions to keep fans happy. Such reworkings are, at this point, a staple of maintaining a live service title. These games can't always just throw in new maps, characters, and abilities every season, and at some point that constant growth slows to account for the imbalance it all creates. Eventually, whole systems and locations need to be reworked or completely overhauled. The issue has happened to games. Wow, this is a longer article than the last Kotaku article. The same has happened to games as big as League of Legends and Apex Legends. However, most games don't go most of the year with as few additions as Siege is making in 2024. Has added one new character, and Siege will add at least 2 more over the next few seasons, but the absolute bulk of additions coming for the rest of the year are changes to things that already exist in the game, which is beginning to become a sore spot for the community at the moment. And then here comes a bunch of new cosmetics, but they're locked behind a new paywall. To throw further fuel on the fire, subscriptions like this are commonplace in games that are otherwise free-to-play like Fortnite, but Siege has remained a premium title over the years. The optics of a subscription containing new goodies in this drought of content for players who've otherwise already paid is undeniably bad, and you immediately get why people are pissed off. Redditors are alike already calling to boycott the subscription, while others are simply reveling in the chaos. Siege's upcoming season was detailed at the very same time as the announcement of the subscription, which has only worsened the reception to the former. So, what do you think Rainbow Six Siege, Ubisoft, trying to add in like a battle pass and basically, or a subscription service, and basically people have hated it universally?
As you mentioned in the article, if I recall correctly, that there was video footage of people at the event were booing that subscription service, and it was
they were booing you, and they were booing Ubisoft themselves.
Yeah. Also, they were chanting for a few seconds too after that. It was that well received by the gamers who've been at the heart with the game for how many years now? Because Rainbow Six Siege came out as 2015. So
yep, they said
years,
9 years, or it's entering its 9th year.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. After a decade almost, now they want to take advantage of the subscriptions. They should have done that with as a free to play game back when it was released. But then again, it'll probably mess up the quality of the game overall if you want to have a subscription back then. But even though I don't want a subscription for every single thing I do in my life, I already have subscriptions to Netflix, Amazon, soon to be Hulu if ever. I have subscriptions to the Z-League at one point when I was a membership for a while, doing with their features they had. Also, subscriptions to Xbox, subscriptions to this, that, and the other thing. It's like We don't need no more subscriptions, please. Like, just give us the full game at $65 or $70, whatever it was at the time, and that's it. And then the DLCs, the season passes, you want to call them, okay, add them to the mix too, and the base game just be for those who are casual gamers like myself, want to just play once in a while. But don't just make sure people do a subscription. That's what you're trying to do with the. I guess this is all come to fruition now. Sorry to sound political again, but the great reset, you'll own nothing, be happy moment. It's coming to fruition. We've only got up to 6 more years until 2030 arrives. So I can't imagine the next couple of years, it's going to be this subscriptions galore type of feeling.
Yeah, but I mean, it's people's choice right now whether or not to buy it. Like, boycott sounds childish, but it's really needed. But also, they think, oh, well, you think nothing and like it. You'll own nothing and like it. No, I'm going to own my own old games and find new games from past systems that I never played. And I'll own those because you won't be able to take those away, short of coming into my house and trying to rob me, which then you'll get introduced to a real gun to your face.
That's when the revolution will start.
So, yeah, if like I said, it's just another reason to go back to retro. I got, I got a bunch of games right here. I got Chrono Cross for PlayStation. I just want to go through a few again. I got Chrono Cross for PlayStation. Apocalypse for PlayStation. Xbox 360. I really can't play right now. I got Final Fantasy 12 for PlayStation 2. I got Max Payne 1 and 2 for PlayStation 2. I can play those games anytime I want, as long as I want, as long as I have electricity. And that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to find new games. Like I said, I never tried out Final Fantasy 12 before. So yeah, there'll be games that I try that I don't like. There'll be games that I try that I like. At least I can educate myself on the game. So if I buy a game I never played before, at least it's a game that I thought I would like based on all the information I had.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's. So yeah, that's another reason people going back to retro. I don't need a subscription to keep my N64 working. I could pop in Wave Race 64 anytime I want and play it. I can pop in. I can play Sewer Shock on Sega CD, or almost any game. You can even throw PS3 games in there since PS3 servers are basically shut down. As long as you got the PS3 game on disc, because they weren't releasing disc as basically coasters at that point yet. Any PS3 game you have on disc, you can basically play as long as you want.
Yeah.
So,
it sucks these days that you can't do. You can fight all you want, boycott. Go against the grind of the subscription services and all. But at the end of the day, it takes a whole entire group and if not a huge community to go against the Ubisoft of that caliber. And if I remember correctly, when people will boycott the Bud Light fiasco with the transgender woman, or whatever Dylan Mulvaney, whatever his name is, Biden, I hear, it was been reported as of earlier this year that Supreme Court, it was something about where they transfer all the merchandise into like some sort of funding to these companies. If you kind of not money laundering, but something where they do something where they inflated the prices and then sell it to some unknown redundant source and then get money off Bud Light anyway. So our leaders in charge are going against Americans sometimes. So it's kind of like you're playing this lose-lose battle in the long term. And we need new people in these offices to stop doing that.
Well, yeah, but also, on YouTube, it's often I see a new person saying they're going back to retro, or they're canceling their subscription, they're going back to physical media only. So I think I think people are getting sick of this digital being forced down our throat. Digital was fine for the convenience of it, but not when we're being forced into it.
Yeah.
So, you ask for that resistance. It might be there. Like I said, I'm going back to retro. Um, I might buy one or two Xbox One games that I want to play, um, but most of my money's going towards retro games. I want to get. I think it's called Quackshot, starring Donald Duck for Sega Genesis, because it looks like basically a new DuckTales game. So, yeah. So I mean, and like I said, there's many other games. Final Fantasy 12. It's actually pretty good. Final Fantasy 11 was the one that you were thinking of. That was the awful one. There's like I said, there's plenty of games out there that we've never even tried or even heard of. Just go searching for those games. And I'd rather spend $100. I'd rather spend like $100 and have like a bunch of games, a handful of games, 6, 7, 8, whatever, instead of one game with an online subscription. Instead of one game with an online subscription. So, and the thing is, also, some people are, these services, they're not doing well as you think, like the cable services, the subscription services. A lot of them are merging together.
Oh, yeah.
Because of poor business numbers. So, maybe things are about to turn in our favor if they haven't already.
Let's hope for the best.
Yep. And if not, you can always just do your part. I mean, ready to move on?
Yeah, no need to start a riot like it once was from last year or two with that streamer selling those free PS5s and all.
Yeah.
That was crazy. Imagine it happening. That riot is like several times worse. If like the consumers started to see the facade, like they'll see everything from all that information gathered over the years about the digitized world and all. That will piss off a lot of gamers, and they're gonna fight for that most likely to some of these gamers.
Yep.
So,
all right.
That's all I gotta say for the matter.
Okay. Next. Gamers have become less interested in strategic thinking and planning. In our blog post, we focused a lot on demographic cohort comparisons and how motivations are linked to in-game preferences using slices of contemporaneous survey data. But because we've been collecting data from our game motivation profile for about 9 years, we can also explore how gaming motivations have changed over a long period of time. In this blog post, we'll deep dive into a long-term trend we've uncovered over the past 9 years. Gamers have become less interested in strategic thinking and planning. The Gamer Motivation Profile is a 5-minute survey that shows gamers to get a personalized report of their gaming motivations and see how they compare with other gamers. Over 1.7 million gamers worldwide have taken this survey. The 12 motivations that are measured in our model were identified via statistical analysis of how gaming motivations cluster together. For this analysis, we used the data from 1.57 million gamers who participated in the Gamer Motivation Profile between June 2015 and April 2024. Respondents from China were excluded because gamers in China have a very different gaming motivation profile, likely due to the historically more isolated development of their gaming industry. What is strategy in our gaming motivation? Okay, how long is this article? Okay, not as long as I thought. It's mostly. I saw how slow the slider was moving, and I was like, okay, this is going to be long. And then I was like, oh, there's the comment section. Okay, okay. What is strategy in our gaming motivation model? In our motivation model, strategy is defined as the appeal of long-term thinking, planning, and careful decision-making. Gamers who score high on strategy prefer longer time horizons for planning and complex decision-making with many underlying parameters to consider. All the branching decisions and likely outcomes seen in games like Europa Universalis and Total War games. Who score low on strategy prefer more reactive, spontaneous gameplay and simple decision-making with few underlying parameters to consider, such as in games like Just Dance and Animal Crossing. A good metaphor for strategy is the size of the whiteboard in your mind that each decision is taking to map out, think through, and optimize. Of the 12 motivations, strategy has changed the most. When we looked for long-term trends across the 12 motivations, we found that many motivations were stable or experienced minor deviations over the past 9 years. Strategy was the clear exception and had substantially declined over the past 9 years, and the magnitude of this change was more than twice the size of the next largest change. In the chart below, the dots represent the average strategy score among gamers who responded to the gamer motivation profile each month between June 2015 and April 2024 using a rolling 3-month window. Strategy is represented on the y-axis as percentile, with the starting date, June 2015, anchored at 50th. The initial collected data is used to define the starting norm. Using the starting norm, the 50th as the basis for comparison, the average strategy score has declined to 33rd as of April 2024. Or put more plainly, 67% of gamers today care less about strategic thinking and planning when playing games than the average gamer back in June of 2015. How big exactly is a drop to 33rd? Both percentiles and psychometric are fairly abstract concepts, and the magnitude of a drop to 33rd can be difficult to block. To help anchor this finding, here are some real-world magnitude equivalents using more familiar metrics. Is the equivalent of all men aged 20 or older in the U.S. losing 17 pounds in weight? It's the equivalent of all adult men worldwide losing 1.34 inches in height. It's the equivalent of everyone worldwide losing 6 3/4 points of IQ. Gradual, persistent decline that predates COVID. When we initially had an inkling that strategy had declined, we suspected that it was potentially due to COVID and avoiding anxiety related to thinking about the future, but when we conducted the longitudinal analysis, several things stood out. The decline in strategy clearly predates COVID. It is noticeable from the earliest data collection periods, and the trend line suggests it started before June of 2015. The trend line also makes clear that we're observing is a gradual but very persistent long-term downward trend in strategy. Whatever the cause, it's likely not a single historical event, but part of a larger long-term cultural psychological shift. The downward trend slowed down prior to COVID right before January 2020, but gained traction during the COVID era and has slowed down since COVID restrictions have been lifted. So there is a potential argument to be made that COVID exacerbated or prolonged an ongoing trend. The decline is identical for both men and women. We'll look at potential compounds and data sampling issues in several ways. First, let's break down the chart by gender. Note that in the chart below, we've anchored the starting point for both cohorts to 50th percentile so we can more directly compare differences and change over time. Men actually care more about strategy than women, so there should be a gap between the lines. But this would make it harder to visually see any differences in the longitudinal trend lines. The decline in strategy is remarkably consistent across male and female gamers. This also means that the overall finding would be the same even if the proportion of men and women had changed over time, which is largely did not. See below. The decline is similar whether we're looking at US or non-US gamers. The decline in strategy is also very similar whether we're looking at US alone or non-US countries. As with the gender chart above, the starting point for both cohorts is anchored at 50th percentile to allow for better visual comparison of difference in the longitudinal trend. But why strategy declined over time? There are many seemingly related findings in terms of our media consumption habits. For example, over time, shorter YouTube videos have garnered a higher share of overall views. The duration of shots in movies between each cut has decreased from 16 seconds in 1930 to 4 seconds in 2010. The average time spent on a computer app window or a Word doc before switching to a browser window has decreased from 2.5 minutes in 2004 to 47 seconds in 2016.
Wow.
In this light, the decline in strategy is likely not an idiosyncratic phenomenon among digital gamers, but parallels the general reduction in attention spans observed by researchers in different fields. But because of all over time comparisons are overly correlational, it's difficult to pin down cause and effect. While we often blame social media for our decreased attention spans, there's a lack of concrete causal evidence for this. Of course, it bears pointing out that causal evidence for this would be difficult to produce since it's technical to raise children in artificial labs. Also, the shot duration analysis in movies is counterpoint to blaming social media entirely. This downward trend in media attention span can be traced back as far back as the 30s, although it is certainly possible that social media accelerated the underlying trend. Another potential hypothesis is that the increasing negativity, polarization, intravenous, and emotional manipulation in social media has created a persistent cognitive overload on the finite cognitive resources we have. Put simply, we may be too worn out by social media to think deeply about things. For example, higher engagement with social media is correlated with lower math and reading scores and poorer mental health among teenagers. Of course, again, these findings are correlational and not direct causal evidence. Implications for making games and understanding gamers. Even if the underlying cause cannot be identified, it's clear that gamers have become less interested in strategic thinking over the past 9 years. It implies that gamers are now more easily cognitively overloaded when they play games and are more likely to avoid strategic complexity. This has implications for game design and marketing. Overall, gamers now prefer shorter time horizons to plan for, the number of steps and branching outcomes they have to think through, and less complex decisions that rely on fewer parameters to consider. And for those of us who study games, typically in the more confined context of specific games, titles, franchise, this finding may help explain observed changes among strategy-related player segments over the past decade that we would otherwise have more likely attributed to game feature changes or COVID. Um, so, what do you think? Why do you think gamers have become less interested in strategic thinking and planning? Are there other potential causes that come to mind? Do you feel your attention span and ability to think deeply has changed since the emergence of social media and/or smartphones? Are there other documental changes in our media consumption habits or cognitive metrics that you think might be related to this? Have you seen similar or related findings specific to gamers and games research? There are comments. I just am going to have to go with the latest one since there's nothing to sort them. Powers goes, I wonder if individuals tracked over time would show this decline. Maybe this decline is due to different cohorts of gamers coming into the sample space. Maybe older gamers are just as interested as they used to be, but younger ones are now coming into the survey and lowering the overall ratings. Nick Yee goes, good question. In this post, we focus on some potential compounds with the sampling. Age, gender, casual core, hardcore have been fairly stable in our sampling over time. It doesn't rule out that something in our sampling has changed, but we looked into and ruled out some of the more obvious potential factors. Interestingly, strategy is one of the more age-stable motivations. It's largely uncorrelated with gamer age, so even moderate changes in age sampling would have had largely no impact on strategy. Dentistry goes, could it be due to the fact for the past 9 years the total amount of gamers drastically increased, and specifically there's huge increase in the casual and hyper-casual audience, thus reducing the percentage but not the total amount? Okay, so you were the one who brought up this article, so I'll let you go first.
Yeah, things have definitely changed since we were kids because 25. Okay, let's break it down to something people can relate to. About 10, 20 years ago, we were told as YouTubers to make content for gaming and stuff like that, no problem. We get people hooked into within 30 seconds. Now with TikTok and this what's that called, Instagram and stuff like that. I've already touched those two social media sites as to the best of my ability, but they cut down the attention span a lot by these younger people, whether they're gamers or not. And it's the point where the attention span can only watch the first 5 seconds. If they're hooked by the first 5 seconds, then you lost that audience or lost that retention. And I can tell from my analytics as a YouTuber it's horrible. Like I'll be having like 55-minute, 30-minute, 40-minute videos, whether I'm talking about games or I'm gaming, and no, they don't stay after like not even 30 seconds, not even 50 seconds. It's atrocious. Like the ones that can have a good decent attention span that can stay for long. PewDiePie didn't have this problem at first as a gamer, doing online stuff back 10 years ago. But now with TikTok and all, and he's lucky to get like, people staying around for long. I know I should actually want more to explain for the matter, but then it'd be too complex because if I give you if I make myself an example, my attention span has definitely gone down for the last several years because 10, 12 years ago I was focusing too much on studying and reading books from the library, written on reading newspapers like New York Times, the Financial Times, no problem, right? And all of a sudden for the last like 7 years, I've been watching a lot of YouTube videos like anyone else would on the internet, and that's where my source of information is at now on these videos and all. And even I myself was sticking with Amazon's Kindle service instead of the actual physical books. So things have definitely changed for us older people, whether we're in our 30s and for the baby boomers who are in their 60s and 70s. They actually, they're to be dumbed down too. So it's we're being over consumed with information on a daily basis on a constant level, and there's nothing we can do about it for the time being until we retroactively bring newer students, not just newer gamers, newer students, newer younger kids to old school teaching, and then they can use the computer, and then they can use the smartphone, and then they can use WhatsApp or whatever, the TikToks and stuff like that. But after when TikTok shuts down in the United States within this year, next year, there's no telling how it's going to impact the everyday society in the next 10 years. Because people will have withdrawal symptoms from TikTok and all, and the pandemic started that trend where people were addicted to TikTok to a point that they were doing these weird schizo what they call when you burst out stuff and out of nowhere. I forgot what's it called exactly. South Park made fun of this matter, and you basically be like, yeah, like you burst out with those type of those taunts or those antics. That it's like a disease that's called something called with tarkinesia, something like that. It's something of that sort. But that's for people who are already on mental drugs, like I myself, for example. But there's no telling the damage that's going to happen for the next 20 years from now, where the average user who is like now 10 years old in their 30s and 40s and 50s, there's no telling how well they can handle stress, how well they can adapt to their surroundings. Is everybody's on the iPad or on the TikToks and stuff like that. So it's going to be like a society where we got to adapt severely and hopefully one day to make sure the society is still intact, or civilization. I'm not trying to keep all this to doom and gloom here, but I did forewarn about this with all the technology, the cameras being everywhere. Literally, United Kingdom had that problem back 20 years ago. Of having it out in the open on their articles being read in these magazines and news sites and all. Even the Daily Mail, the Guardian, like they foretell the future of what the United States is going to go through 5, 10 years down the line, if not 20 years down the line. So it's a never-ending progress into control and power over people. These elites are well aware of this matter, which is why you don't see them on computers all the time, or if they ever on a computer. Mark Zuckerberg, even himself, his children, not personally himself, if I know about this matter entirely, but he doesn't let his kids or any of these tech savvy guys let their kids on these devices for long, if ever. So we are the ones that are going to be the consumers of the junkie consumer who has no attention span to register a thought properly or a sentence properly, or even some form of desired in its fruition in verbal talk or verbal technicality. Like you people are not going to sustain that talk for a while. Like we're conversing right now, you and I, Triple J. That's going to be very rare in the future. And these attention spans, if the kids can contemplate proper social verbal communication, like voice chats, phone calls, but it's gonna be all text and stuff like that, or text to speech or speech to text. I can't do that. I just can't. You gotta talk, and that's what I hate
Yeah.
about these dating sites doing that to the kids now. and to me as well, to around our age, these adults, these young adults, between the ages of like 18 and 35, 40 years old, they don't want to. They always want to text. And I'm like, I don't want to text all the time, every time. I always try to tell these ladies, hey, if you want to maintain a relationship, you have to verbally talk. You have to communicate. You have to talk with actual detailed sentences. You can't just be on Xbox Live or on Verizon phone call, whatever, and then I talk to you about Ruby or I talk to you about something pop culture. You still can't understand that. We're not even talking about politics yet. Forget about politics. Just in general speaking, people are losing that. It is scary. And that's why most people don't look at me as an anomaly because of the way I speak or the way I've been into contemplating myself over the years. I'm not some anomaly. I just read books or I read and understand my language or my verbal thought is coming to its fruition. So that's what's going on with this article I came across thanks to Osmond Gold and all. You know, so
Yeah. Well, most with the dating sites, it's usually someone. If they don't want to talk, it's usually because they're a guy masquerading as a girl. Because they're
definitely.
gonna try to hit you up for money.
Oh yeah,
I had that happen. I had someone try that last year, and it just too many red flags popped up at the last minute. I'm like, no. And then I found out the guy was. I found the where the girls' pictures were actually posted. Some guy just lifted them off a Tumblr that was no longer updated and copied them over to different profiles, and he was pretending to be this girl.
Mm-hmm.
Um, then I reported him, and the person got banned basically. So anyway, yeah. But that scams aside, yeah, the younger generation has shorter attention spans. No, that's not news. Um, what I really thought this was going to focus on was the health of brains because you got to keep your brain active. Well, otherwise, that's a direct cause to Alzheimer's. Um,
I feel
that's
that
why they
too.
say like crossword puzzles and like basically the game section in newspapers is basically pretty good. Like the word scrambler because you gotta think to unscramble the word. You gotta think, or at least um, what you know about pop culture to fill in the crossword puzzle. Um, you have to think basically. Um,
Critical thought.
like I got like 7 copies of Brain Age, brand new. Maybe I should pop in my DS and play that once every day for a few minutes to keep my brain fresh. But basically, yeah, it's. But this was more instead of healthy brains. This was more about attention spans. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, but the gamers. I mean, yeah, that's why YouTube Shorts is such a thing because they're trying to focus on the people who have short attention spans and won't stay around for longer than a minute. Um,
And I'm starting to consume more and more of YouTube Shorts and TikToks more, little by little as time progresses. Surprisingly.
well, I haven't.
Okay.
I'm usually looking for long podcasts or I listen to music on end. Um, like because like if I'm on eBay and I'm listing a bunch of items, I need something to listen to for the next hour or two, not the
And,
next minute or two.
and no one definitely going to touch the political and any form of library type of audio archives, like the presidential debates. I try to watch presidential debate for an hour and 30, and it goes by so quickly than ever. I used to be long and drawn out, but now I'm very attentive to these presidential debates from like the 1970s, the 80s, 90s, and I'm like, are people watching this still? Am I the only one watching these videos? And
Probably.
it's scary. That's what I try to tell my other gamers online in my network of gamers and all. I actually said, Lucy, I want to run for president of the United States one day, and at this rate, it's going to come down to who's going to take charge of this infrastructure of its thought, of its the overall mind of society at large. Meaning that who's going to be the new generation or the new people that take over after the old generation, is no longer around. So this is
Yeah.
scary that it's coming to fruition. My actual predictions. Like one day, someone within our gaming culture or gaming groups, whatever, can be the next leaders. No, with no problem. And it's gonna be like an interesting moment on how the internet and the presidential, local governments, the mayors, how it's going to be with the internet and all come to fruition with the Twitter and the Facebook and all. It's going to be an interesting set of events going to happen in this century, and hopefully it's for the best. It's I'm not trying to toot my own horn saying I'm going to be the next leader of this whole entire country. I'm not trying to be that. I'm not trying to be that arrogant, but but you know what I mean. Like it's like, you never know. We could. It would matter decades from now. 40, 30, 20 years. Anything's possible. It's people have to think hard and think long in order to survive in this world now. So.
Yeah. So. Yeah. Basically, attention spans have shortened. That's common. But also, there's really not like many strategy games coming out. I feel like, I mean, unless you care about like strategy-based combat games, Catherine, I would consider a strategy game because you got to form the puzzle the right way to get up the platform, to get up to the exit, basically.
It's like Texas Blocks.
Yeah. So anyway, I'm tired. I walked right into that one. So. But as I was saying, like Catherine, you got to think how you're gonna, which blocks you're gonna pull out, which ones you're gonna push out to get up to the end of the puzzle, basically.
Mm-hmm.
Also, there's just not that many games unless you want to go back, because like those strategy games, also most of them I just can't figure out how to play. That's why Valkyria Chronicles 4, I'll bring that up again on Xbox One. That was interesting to find, a strategy game I could understand.
It's on the ground. It's not like actually through a battlefield itself.
No, it is through battlefields.
It's a mixture of both, like Apex Legends, kind of.
No, Apex Legends is more run and gun, isn't it?
Well, I mean, it's true. You have to be strategized how to survive in that battle royale, and the mapping it helps out and all if you're a commander and all. But if you're on the ground, a squad leader and all, that you understand better what's going on in that down the battlefield, with that perspective. So, in my perspective, that is. That's how I look at it.
Okay. Well, I mean, like Valkyria Chronicles 4, you got you can move a certain amount of people a certain distance every round, and you got to fulfill an objective by the end of like 20 turns. So it's and then like if someone goes down, and you got to rescue them, otherwise they're gonna die and not come back. So it's it was, but it wasn't one and gun. It was more strategy than anything else. But yeah, so it's just basically gamers just have short attention spans, but we just don't have that many games that help people focus.
Not only that, we're dumbing ourselves down severely on our own self-deprecation. If you think about it, though, because there are some people out there who are willing to self-improve, like improve their handwriting, improve their typing skills. Like I've always had them for years. Learn a new language, like French or Russian or even Spanish. For years trying to learn Spanish, I still can't comprehend it properly, and little by little, I'm starting to memorize certain words and all. But even that's not enough for you. You gotta actually go back to like 1800s, where there's this archive of information. I forgot which state had it. There was this test they would give out to these students in one of these states, and it would tell them these students what is the right portion of point of view in relativity and all this complex stuff. It's like third or fourth grade type of material. So that back then is equivalent to what's going on in colleges now. And even that in college is starting to dumb itself down further.
Yeah.
So we're not maintaining our own standards. We're just dumbing ourselves down to the point that we just don't want to improve our self standing in thought.
Right.
So.
Yeah, we're dumbing down instead of. Yeah, we're dumbing down basically.
Yeah, it's not pathetic, but it's just it is what it is to a certain degree. It's an actual metaphysician talked about this, that in the world of metaphysics, the words are residual, but at the same time, if you break down the words little by little, reducing them from thought, reducing them from constant talk, then it's just going to go silent. It's scary because everything's going to be on the internet or on the computers we're using right now, and then the younger generation is going to be like, hey, I can't think, or in their minds they're going to say, I can't think, or I don't know what to say, because they can't contemplate it in words, never experience the outside environment, because they were always in the internet, the computer, the smartphone. So.
Okay, yeah. So I mean, we got to move on. We still got more stories to cover.
It's something to be interested about. Yeah, concerned as a person of a gamer. So.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, it's not just any simple fix. I mean, it's also generational. Basically, it's just the way things are. Unfortunately, it's the way it's what's happening with newer generations. But it's basically everything. It's not just. There's no one thing pertaining to this. There's no one thing that's the root cause. It's a number of causes.
Yeah,
so
right.
Any change to one thing is not going to help. And honestly, basically you can just only focus on yourself.
Right.
So like I said, maybe put down, get away from the YouTube shorts and TikToks, listen to more podcasts about things that interest you, or just go to YouTube's section that's curated to you and find actual full-length videos and listen to them while you do whatever. Also test your brain once in a while. There's riddles you can pull up on YouTube, where if you feel like challenging yourself, pull up a video. People make videos with riddles in them that, and they'll release the answer afterwards. So test yourself there. There's different things you can do that YouTube Shorts and TikTok is not going to help with.
Indeed.
Ready to move on?
Yeah, I'm ready to move on. I appreciate you let me cover this matter. So.
No problem. Amazon Games partners with former Forza Horizon devs for story-focused open-world driving game. Amazon Games has announced a publishing agreement with Maverick Games, a young studio formed in 2022 by former Forza Horizon developers. The developers' first project will be a story-focused open-world driving game. Maverick Games is based in Warwick, UK, and was founded by 6 former leaders from Playground Games. Its roster includes studio head and creative director Mike Brown, former creative director of the Forza Horizon series, executive producer Tom Butcher, chief technical officer, Matt Craven, and content director Gareth Hurward. It also includes former Playground audio director and art director Fraser Stachin and Ben Penrose, respectively. The studio announced in January 2023 that its first title would be a premium open-world game for consoles and PC. A press release includes an interview with Mike Brown, who provides hints of what Maverick's game has in store, which appears to emphasize storytelling and character development more than you'd expect for a driving game. Lots of great driving games have amazing gameplay, amazing content, said Brown, but to really cross that bridge to become a game that people genuinely love, then there needs to be that human connection where you're actually rooting for these characters, falling in love with these characters. That, I think, is a place where our game will be able to really differentiate itself from the other titles in the genre. There's nothing about this genre that prevents it from having amazing characters and amazing stories. It's just not really been explored yet. The press release also announces the hiring of Jamie Britton, co-creator of the award-winning British TV drama Skins, as the game's lead writer. Brown explains his belief in the power of good characters and cites Skins as an example of showcasing interesting, flawed characters to garner its cult-like following. Maverick Games Projector joins Amazon's growing portfolio of games, which includes Crystal Dynamics' upcoming Tomb Raider title, an MMO based on The Lord of the Rings by New World developer Amazon Games Orange County, along with its existing titles Lost Ark and New World. Okay, let's go to comments. There's only 2. Jolien What the goes, Horizon was my favorite game of the year when it came out. This comment won't make sense if the headline is updated corrected, so get in while it's still hilarious. Josh Russell goes, it may even have alloy in it. Okay, so what do you think of this new open world driving game from former Forza Horizon developers and Amazon Games?
Well, it's interesting. It sounds interactive. Um, is it going to be on the Luna? You said.
It didn't say where it was going to be.
Okay. Hmm. Well, it's always going to be an arcade first. See how it tests out to be.
Right. Well, I mean, that's another thing. I mean, you could pick like Need for Speed Underground and stuff like that, but racing games really don't create a story. Like when you get to when you play a game and you end up caring about the characters, you never really find that in a driving game.
Oh yeah, it's
Not
very
many
rare.
driving games try that. I'm not counting Grand Theft Auto because that's shooting and other stuff. So I'm talking about like a racing game with a character that you learn to care about. You never really find the two in a game that's mostly racing. So, or mostly driving, like a Need for Speed game. So, this is something that's definitely interesting.
Oh yeah.
Definitely something I'd like to try to see what the story is and if it's something that would captivate me. Anything else to add, or
We can move on if you want.
all right, all right. Next, your Steam library dies with you. Valve says you can't pass down your Steam library to next of kin or loved ones in the event of your death. Modern gamers who have fully embraced digital gaming may believe that the titles they've purchased will belong to them in perpetuity, but if anyone's hoping to pass on their Steam backlog to their next of kin, it turns out Valve doesn't allow the rights to be transferred. In other words, your Steam library dies with you. Via Ars Technica, a user on ResetEra posted a reply they received from Steam support regarding their question about passing on their Steam library through a will. Unfortunately, Steam accounts and games are non-transferable, replied a representative from Valve. Steam support can't provide someone else with access to the account or merge its contents with another account. I regret to inform you that your Steam account cannot be transferred via a will. Some users have put a considerable amount of money into their Steam libraries, and it may be disheartening to hear that those games could simply be gone following the death of the Steam account owner. However, the easiest workaround may be simply pass on the username and login info to potential heirs without informing Steam. The thorny issue of who really owns the digital games would remain, but at least the titles would still be playable. An additional way to preserve Steam games is to pass down any computers that already have the titles downloaded. However, without access to the original Steam account, those games wouldn't be available for installation on a different device or even accessible for reinstallation on the computer they're currently on in the event of a hard drive crash or other system failure. For that reason alone, this may not be an optimal solution, but until Valve offers users a better way to pass on their games, there aren't many other options available. So let's get comments. X Mario X goes, will they close down Valve when Gabe dies? He can hand over the company to others, and they to others, in perpetuity, but the people who they profit off of it can't. Pete Banyan goes, this underscores the need for more robust regulations in the digital industry. Digital ownership should be clearly defined as the point of purchase, not buried in a lengthy terms of service agreement. For instance, Sony's Funimation marketed digital movies with the promise of owning it forever, yet they rescinded all purchases following the acquisition of Crunchyroll and the subsequent closure of Funimation. I'm not suggesting that digital distribution should last indefinitely, just as physical games depend on functioning consoles and games, but it should be transparent what I am purchasing. And Baptist goes, they need to change the buy button to a rent button. So what do you think about this? Basically, if you die and that person had a bunch of Steam games, they can't be transferred.
Oh, well, who's going to stop? Who's going to stop that person from transferring over that data? Unless you're going to try to lock people's accounts to the point of through biometrics, and even that people are accept that over time.
Well, they're saying no. They're just saying like you can't transfer your Steam library to another owner, even if it's put in a will.
Fuck that! I don't care. That's my fucking Steam library. I'm the one who paid for those games. It's my own dollars that I earned, or at least was gifted at least to other people. What about them? You gotta tell them that they can't have access to my Steam library if they gifted my games to me and that account. It doesn't make any sense. It's anti-consumer. I don't get
Yeah,
these customers. I mean, the companies. They have some right over our embodiment what we put on for our accounts and all. Like if we have access to our account, that's my account. And if we want to give it to someone else or through means of like sharing, if ever, I don't know how's that going to work, but definitely transferring. Hey, my friend from high school, hey, here's my password information, my user in case I pass away, and all of a sudden I pass away, you got access to my account. What's there to stop, for them from me
there's
making?
there's nothing except there's really nothing. I mean, that they're saying that's the only way to do it though, is to give someone your username and password. Like, and like if someone's gonna get your Steam library, basically you got to provide them your login information
Okay.
um, when you do it. But um, but basically they would have to, and then just don't tell Steam or Valve. Or
Mm-hmm.
it just sucks though that you can't transfer the games that you purchased um, if you die. I mean, so there's nothing to take. There's nothing like if let's just say Dr. Games 101 had a huge Steam library and he passed away and he left his Steam library to me. If
Right.
he leaves his login information, like in a will or something, then I could obviously just go on Steam under his login information, play his games, and buy ones that I want. There's nothing Valve or Steam can do as long as no one tells them. But
Or
at
incorporate,
the same,
or incorporate biometrics, where it has to be an eye reader or a fingerprint.
well, good luck with that, because how many people are going to be able to afford devices that can do that?
Well, they're not
Um,
affording. It's actually happening. They're cheap Android products like the track phones, the Metro PCS. They actually have these biometrics, fingerprint, three finger, switcheroo, whatever it's called. To verify your login. It's scary.
they do that, yeah, they do that for phones, but I'm saying, and maybe tablets, but it's not going to work on a computer because a computer is usually not touchscreen.
Who's to say that Microsoft doesn't on Windows 12 can do that one day, where you can do biometrics on Windows 12 computers, if ever. You know, that's actually
I
happening. They actually did that back 10 years ago, where they actually had a touchscreen monitor where you could do like three finger password or biometric password with Windows. They actually have that
Yeah,
feature.
they can choose to do that. I'm just saying they really can't force that because people who choose not to use it won't. And then you think you want to talk about a potential customer base plummeting if they force people to do that. So, like they said, the real problem is Steam or Valve not allowing this, even though they say you bought the games. Again, that's why physical is much better. That's why retro is better. But yeah, so far the only way you got is if someone wants to will their Steam account to someone, they got to provide the login information as well,
Mm-hmm.
or otherwise that Steam account is worthless.
Oh yeah.
Anything else to add, or ready to move on?
All right, let's move on.
Okay. One moment. Okay, Silent Hill 2 remake gets October launch date and new gameplay trailer. The remake of Silent Hill 2 has a new trailer and a release date of October 8th. Surprisingly, this news comes during Sony's State of Play instead of the Silent Hill transmission airing later tonight. Regardless, we aren't complaining about seeing more of Bloober Team's remake of the PS2 classic. The trailer provides new looks at gameplay and the psychological scares that made the first game so beloved. Silent Hill 2 is coming on PlayStation 5 as a console exclusive as well as PC. Do you want me to Do you want me to play the trailer?
Yeah, why not? Let's do that.
Okay. Okay, let me know when you're ready to talk about it.
Pretty good. Wasn't so bad. I here's the thing though. When that lead came onto the scene for the first time, people were mesmerized by her design. It wasn't all that appealing. it wasn't all that great. You know what I'm saying? So it's kind of like, wow, it's like, you know, and people were saying that earlier this week when it came out, the trailer. So yeah.
So, what do you think of what we saw, though?
To be honest, I never got into the Silent Hill games yet.
Neither did I.
After all these decades, I can get a copy of the double pack, the remaster of Silent Hill 2 and 3. But I always want to play the first Silent Hill on the PlayStation 1. But no, obviously.
Yeah, man, I did play Silent Hill 3. I didn't get far in it, though.
Yeah, I heard it's just as scary as Resident Evil at times too. So you know, it's
Yeah.
especially with Silent Hill 3, you want to put your mind to it. But personally myself, one day I will try to play the first Silent Hill, at least that, and then I'll try to get Silent Hill 2 and 3 as part of that remaster collection. And I'll definitely go play the remake when it comes out, whenever it does come out this year.
Yeah, it comes out in October
Oh yeah, definitely
of this
October
year.
8th. Yeah, it looks good. I mean,
Yeah.
overall, it's not appealing. I mean, at one point, based on horror games, you want to consider this to remake a horror game. It wasn't dark, slick, you know, eerie, you know, like the first Silent Hill video game. But unfortunately, Silent Hill 2 remake is just another woke, you call it, based on what the most of the gamers what they're saying online. So
Well, I wouldn't just go based on what other people are saying online, especially when the game hasn't even come out yet.
oh yeah, definitely.
Especially trailers can be misleading. It looks good. It looks scary. Um, so you know, basically, um, I'm intrigued. I don't have a PS5. I don't think my laptop can handle a game like that. A current new game coming out. But if I did have the ability to play it, I'd be intrigued. That's all I got to say.
I
Ready to
understand.
move on?
Yeah, you move on.
All right. Next, could games go above $70? Embracer CEO weighs in. The reality is, no one has tried it. Embracer CEO Lara Wingsforce has commented on the possibility of raising the price from the industry. Biz. Wingforce said the video game industry is no different than other businesses in that inflation and production costs continue to rise. Wingforce said it's been hard to increase prices for premium games in the console and PC space, and due to this, the margin to success is less. Prices beyond $70 for new game releases is not out of the realm of possibility, Wingforce said, and it might take one company being a first mover and seeing how the market responds. The reality is no one has tried it. If you create an enormous RPG, for example, with 100 or 150 hours of gameplay, very polished and a unique experience, would the consumer be willing to pay more? If they would have more products potentially coming to market, but no one tried it, he said. The executive went on to say that Embracer has been discussing this very thing. However, for the time being at least, Embracer is following the wider industry and keeping its price at $70. Of course, many game companies charge more than $70 for new games when considering deluxe special editions. Many games today, including single-player titles, also have microtransaction systems built into them that provide another revenue stream for the publisher beyond the initial purchase price. Would it be that one company one day tries to increase pricing? That remains to be seen, he said. Another possibility, Wingforce said, is that Embracer might consider making shorter games that could help lower costs and increase the upside potential. But at what it's worth, 2024's best-selling game so far in the US, Helldivers 2, is priced at $40. I just believe there are consumers willing to engage in those amazing RPGs and other single-player games, and ultimately they are willing to spend money on them. Do you increase pricing or do you make them shorter? He said. I think it would be very sad if everything just became big multiplayer in-game monetization titles. There are millions of consumers willing to engage more in classic games. Some have theorized Grand Theft Auto 6 could launch at a price above $70 for its standard edition. After all, Take-Two was one of the first companies to raise prices from $60 to $70 for new releases, and some believe the company might go up another $10 for GTA 6. That remains to be seen, but CEO Strauss-Zelnick said the company's aim is to over-deliver on value against cost. As for Embracer, the company recently included a cost-cutting program that resulted in hundreds of layoffs, canceled games, studio closures, and more dramatic changes. The name Embracer is going away in the future, but Wing Force maintains the change is not due to bad press. Okay, so let's get some comments. Guitar Warrior 86 or 66 goes, you can even make it $500. Honestly, it wouldn't make any difference to me because I don't even get them for free on Epic Game Store because new games suck hard since 10 years ago. I have had lots of games I can play already, so I can easily skip new games. That's not better than the games I can play. Media Stupid 1 goes, there are people dumb enough that pay the extra $10 to $20 to play a game 2 days early, even digital, so this doesn't surprise me. Nintendians goes, if it goes any higher, it better come with bug and glitches free on day one, paid early access, with better campaign story plots too. So, what do you think of gaming companies possibly moving up from $70 to even higher prices for new games?
Sorry about that. Technical difficulties for a second. What was your question again?
This Embracer CEO goes, it was asked if $70 games could go higher if he thinks the market would pay, and he did say that like for RPG titles that are 150 hours of gameplay and polished and not nickel and diming the player, that could work, but like he said, maybe make games shorter to cut cost. Do you think people would be willing to pay $80, $90, $100 for new games?
Well, we've been doing this for a good decade now, where games are like base game like $65, and then recently turned to $70, and 25, 30 years ago it was like $50 and about $40. So it's adjusted for inflation. So eventually, the market will adjust itself as long as it's not artificially inflated. So I don't mind spending $70 for games right now, because obviously these are more expensive, more complex hardware of consoles with more complex graphics and more complex gameplay. And in my perspective, it's best to just make sure it doesn't increase too much in every single generation of gaming, but just enough where people can afford to. And I'm not trying to be like anti-consuming here, where it's like, oh, you want things to be very cheap and all, but at the same time, these games are expensive to make after a while. And the AAA games are pretty much, it's faltering from its quality though, because of the volumetric proportions of the game in itself. So it's all about basically having a creative mind with a decent budget and a proper management of time if you have to create certain games, and you can just balance it out properly over time. It can be a good game like Red Dead Redemption 2, Max Payne 3, or even games like Sonic Mania, if ever. It's so that's small as that. It's that was successful of its own sales and all. But I don't know. $70 it's a big price to buy games now. I had to sacrifice some bills for that to get that kind of game or games. That's what I did with Modern Warfare 2 2022 back 2 or 3 years ago, when the game price was like $75 for everything, for the base game, that is. So
yeah, that's basically the issue. I mean, the reason people don't want to pay more for games is because the quality has fallen. This whole releasing game with game-breaking bugs and we'll fix it later, and then sometimes the game doesn't get fixed at all. That's why people don't want to pay $70, and then they're paying $70 for a game that's basically a digital store on top of that. So like if you did release like an open world RPG that was like as long as Red Dead Redemption 2 or even smaller, but like Max Payne 3, I guess, I forget how long Max Payne 3 took to complete. But then again, it did have replayability. So, if people would be willing to pay the price if it was worthy of that price. But releasing a game with game-breaking bugs on day one, releasing a game that's that's full of microtransactions, that's not quality. That's decrease in quality. Um, so what game developers really need to do, and these gaming executives need to do, is make sure the product, when you, like during the PS2 era, it was really uncommon to have a game that was broken.
Oh yeah.
At launch. It still happened, but it wasn't as common as it's become. So, create it. And the thing is, like, if your game's just 8 to 10 hours, it's not worth more than $70. It's probably not even worth $70. So yeah, if the game is long, like Alan Wake, the first Alan Wake, you could complete it. You could complete it like in 10 hours. Maybe the DLC extended it a couple more hours on top of that, but. Other than that, that's not something that's worth more than 60. So, like, if you're talking about games that provide a long time to play, a lot of play time, that's one thing. But it also counts on the quality and how much you're trying to nickel and dime the player. People don't want to pay $70 to be advertised to. So it really depends. Yeah, it really depends on how many hours, and maybe if you can't focus on, if you can't do these larger games, why can't you break them up and release the future and release part of the game, and then release like later levels as DLC and stuff.
Oh yeah.
But make sure the game functions. Make sure the game is playable. I mean, you don't just. I mean, look at Suicide Squad, Kill the Justice League. Look at the state that game released it. That game's not worth 70 cents, let alone $70. Well, maybe it's worth 70 cents, but nothing more. So, yeah, these games, people would pay for them, but they gotta feel like it's worth their money.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And if you can't do that, just release shorter games and allow these levels. But create the longer levels for DLC. And if it's a functioning game and you're not nickel and diming the player to death, maybe they'd be willing to spend more. Oh, this game's only $20, but it had DLC. I'll try the DLC for $10 more. Stuff like that. I mean, like they said, Helldivers 2 is the most best-selling game of 2024, and it's only $40.
Wow.
So, yeah, so it's not. I mean, I'm not saying people wouldn't pay the price, but you're gonna have to give people a reason to pay that price. And with what most gaming executives are focused on doing, people aren't gonna buy that. Anything else, Ed, or we need to move on for the final topic tonight?
I just want to say one more thing though, that the $70 game price should stay at least for another generation, and then after that. Keep on increasing, but if you have to increase it to $80, $90, so be it. But that's really it increases the quality as well as the timing of these games to be released properly, as well without the bugs and all. So if they can just match it appropriately to the prices, to the timing of the release of the games for these prices, everything will be good, and we'll just smooth sailing. So that's how I look at it. That's all I got to say.
Yeah, I just want to say, like, for example, let's just take one of my favorite PS3 games of all time, Bloodstone 007.
Okay.
I love that game. I wish there was more to play of that game. Unfortunately, I have to find more James Bond games, because the sequel to Bloodstone 007 ended up being canceled. But the thing is, if they wanted, why not? Why didn't they just make the sequel DLC levels? I mean, the game was supposed to have a sequel. Now that sequel got canceled, so Bloodstone 007 will always be a cliffhanger. Oh, yeah. But let's take Bloodstone 007 when it was released. $40 or $60. It was probably $60 because it was a PS3 game. But like I'm saying, they should have. That it was a good game. It was a fun game. They had multiplayer that you could play online, so it wasn't just a one and done single player adventure. But they could have also added more levels or created the game through created the sequel through DLC packs. And then, and like I said, I used Bloodstone because Bloodstone was a great game. It was great quality. It was, it worked right away. It worked throughout the entire game. You didn't have game-breaking bugs or graphical bugs or anything. Whoever made Bloodstone really cared about making a great game.
Oh yeah.
So they could have continued with. So that's what I'm saying. Like if let's say you're gonna create the next James Bond game, okay, make sure it works all the way through on day one, or at least into the later parts of the game. Because I know The Wolf Among Us had problems once you got to like chapter 4 or 5. So make sure as far as you can that there's no bugs or anything, or that most of the bugs have been fixed before you ship the game out. And if people love the game and they love the story, offer more DLC, because if they're going to want to continue playing the game, they'll buy the DLC. But the DLC is also going to have a captivating story of its own, or it's got to be just as captivating as the base game.
That's what happened to Halo 3. It was so successful with DLCs and all that. Me personally, I was willing to wait the last map I could come out like months later, rather than weeks, if not months later. So, they did good sales on the release of the game and the DLC, and the year one edition, if there's such thing. It was good that they did back in the 2000s, early to mid to late 2000s, and after that, I don't know what happened, but it's all about greed now. It's not about making a good quality game. It's all about how much we sell it for the short term, and that's it.
Yeah, that's the problem, and they're willing to forego quality for the quick buck. That's why people don't want to pay $70, $80, $90. So what I'm saying is, if you're gonna make a game, make sure it works, make sure it's captivating, make sure people want to play it, and if people do want to play it, if you can't make Red Dead Redemption 2, Grand Theft Auto 5, if you can't make games that long, because it's not cost effective, then make games that are shorter, and then just release the rest of the game in DLC packs. But make sure the DLC packs actually have something, not like AEW, where 3 wrestlers cost $25. It's got to be, a decent. It's got to feel like it's worth the value of that DLC pack, of whatever's being charged for that DLC. But yeah, make shorter games with DLC, or make longer games, but shorter games would help cut the cost. And then if that game is getting great reviews and everything, like I said, DLC afterwards.
Indeed.
But if you're going to go for $80, $90, $100 a game, you better give a player the reason to spend that money. And that's just what we haven't been getting from many game developers, or game publishers, I should say. Ready to move on?
Yeah, definitely.
All right. Last story for tonight.
Mm-hmm.
More PlayStation games on PC require a PSN account, and players are upset. Even the single-player games require it. More PlayStation games on PC will require a PSN account, even the single-player ones, and many players were upset with this decision. During Sony's May 2024 State of Play presentation, PlayStation announced that God of War Ragnarok and the Until Dawn remake were coming to Steam. However, according to their respective store pages on Steam and the Epic Game Store, both games require a PSN account in order to play them. Players voiced their concerns about the situation, questioning why a single-player game needs this requirement. One player even joked that they'll sign up for PSN when Sony finally ports Bloodborne on PC. The PSN debacle began earlier this month when Sony announced that players would have to create a PSN account to continue playing Helldivers 2. However, Sony reversed this particular decision after fan backlash. Ghost of Tsushima Director's Cut was released on PC earlier this month, but only the multiplayer aspect required a PSN account. God of War Ragnarok for PC will launch on September 19th. It supports ultra-wide monitor support and letters, as well as all post-launch updates such as New Game Plus and the Valhalla DLC, The Until Dawn remake will launch on PS5 and PC in fall of 2024. Let's look at the comments. Machina X goes, agreed. I am from one of these countries that are not supported by PSN regional settings. Both. Whenever I try to access, for example, Ghost of Tsushima's director's cut, I got the message, not supported in your region. The solution is simple. If Sony does not want to change its policy, then simply add support for the country. My country is in Europe. Or be not surprised by the rising piracy of their games. Nintendians goes, Sony might as well release their own PC launcher for their games and not have Steam or Epic host their games. Then, and to access their games, people need to register at Sony to download and play their game. Yeah, Sony needs to release their own network. Um, so, what do you think of that? Sony apparently didn't learn their lesson.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I was expecting more than that.
I'm sorry. I was just saying that. What I want to say, what I really want to say is that the PlayStation games on the PC requirement, it's a kerfuffle. It's like they're making it too complex now. Like 25, 10, 15 years ago, it's like you could just go take the disc, put it in the disk drive, type in the CD key, and it's all yours for the rest of your life of the game itself. Now they're making it too complex, where it's like, now they require PSN accounts. Like, what's the purpose of having a PC that if you want to be different from the consoles, So.
Exactly. Yeah. So I mean, like I said, I like that. I like the Tendians. Idea. I think it was to have their own launcher so people can play the games instead of having it on Steam or Epic Games. If that would definitely help. But yeah, there's no reason for single player games to have this at all. It's just seems like anal retentive. Because why do people need a PSN account all of a sudden?
Yeah.
It's just. I think it's Sony trying to get more control over its consumers. But some consumers are left out in the dark, not even given the option to conform. So it's kind of dumb in that way.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, so I mean. And now single player games require PSN. Like I said, another reason to go back to retro. I can play Final Fantasy 12 all I want. I can play my other game, Chrono Cross, all I want. So yeah, I don't like this. I don't know why Sony thinks this is a good idea. I don't know what Sony thinks they're getting out of it. Are they really that desperate to increase PlayStation Network signups? Then you know what? Maybe give people a reason to sign up for PlayStation Network.
Oh yeah.
But when PlayStation Network got hacked like 3 times in the last decade, that doesn't instill confidence in people. And then the people that can't sign up for it because they don't live in the correct country, that's a Sony's problem. So I do like that idea, Sony releasing its own launcher if they're going to continue to go this route. For PC players. But yeah, but I don't understand what Sony's trying to get out of this. So they get more signups. So what?
Mm-hmm.
How does that help business?
Yeah, it's a powerful self. This is keep like putting their foot in their mouth and say that it's okay.
Yep. So anyway, that was episode. That was the last story. So that was episode 99 of the Let's Discuss Gaming podcast. I hope you enjoyed it. Our next episode will be on June 15th, Saturday, 9 p.m. That will be episode 100. Do you have any plans for tomorrow, Dr. Games 101?
I'm not sure about tomorrow exactly, but throughout throughout next week, I'll do more gameplay videos. I'll also try to do like a Cyberpunk video, maybe a Grand Theft Auto video, most likely. I can't do that right now. No, I can't. Yeah, I should do that. I actually still have a copy of GTA 4. I can start playing that, so like a beginning and all. I'll try to do that sometime next week as well. So look out for that.
Okay, yeah. If I'm gonna stream anything, if I'm gonna upload any gaming videos to YouTube, they're gonna be streamed on Twitch, so I can use the export feature straight to YouTube without having to worry about downloading the video and publishing the video. Basically, I use Twitch as a way to put it back on YouTube. So, um, if I play anything on Twitch, if I play anything, it'll be on Twitch first and then YouTube afterwards. Um,
Indeed.
so there's that. I don't have anything in plan yet. Um, I am working on the next Total Extreme Wrestling 2020 video. It's just these videos haven't been coming out because my store, since I've been able to sell on eBay again, I've been uploading my most popular items to eBay to hopefully get them moving. So that's what's been taking up a lot of my time. But yeah, I did play Sewer Shark like a couple nights ago. I think it was, let's see, I think it was on Thursday night because I was off Friday, so I could stay up as late as I want. So, yeah, if I play anything, it'll be on Twitch first and then YouTube. And the only game that's an exception to is Total Extreme Wrestling 2020, but that will be on YouTube, so you can watch it anytime. That's convenient for you. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed this. Follow me so you don't miss future streams. Until next time, good night, everyone.
Later, guys. Have a nice night.